So I've been watching Tyler Folsey, who's a nuclear engineer, worked in nuclear power plants, and he likes to watch other people's videos and then talk about them. And you know, fortunately for Mr. Folsey, he uses a streaming program. I used to have OBS, as many of you know, from the meat and potatoes of New Coke's material that came out from 2024 to early this year. But since I don't have access to that anymore, we're going to be doing this a very, very ghetto way. Now, one thing that I will say is that some of the best streams that we ever had on New Coke's were done from a cell phone in a garage. And those were the days, man. But I was really surprised to see that Matthew B. Cox, who was formerly at the top of the Secret Service Most Wanted list, released a video on the Zodiac Killer, because I remember from years ago watching Matt Cox, and he basically stayed away from homicide and violent crime because I think he just kind of was disturbed by it, and he liked to talk about financial crime and drug crime and stuff like that. What I will say too is I have been a big Matthew Cox fan for a pretty long time. I used to put on his videos in my meth lab, and I would basically use the sound of Matthew Cox and numerous other podcasters, all of the people that I talk about on this channel, to mask the sound of clinking glassware, so that it couldn't be heard while I was doing what I was doing. So I've been watching Matt Cox for quite a while and have a little history, and I was just really shocked to see that Matt was talking about Zodiac. So this is exposing the true identity of the Zodiac Killer with Matthew Cox. I'm going to mute all the ads and just try to distract during that time. Not going to jump ahead of myself here. We're going to talk about it as it comes up. And if there's any problems with this, I think it should be okay. I'm going to turn the volume up nice and loud, and we'll see what the former head of the Secret Service Most Wanted list is talking about on his show. By the way, I haven't watched this yet, is another thing that I will mention. I have no idea what is going to be said at all, and we're going to be watching this in live time.
I would consider him the Jack the Ripper of the United States in the fact that he never got caught. His name was Richard Hoffman. He says...
No, it was not. Why do people believe this? Okay, let me just say one thing. Literally, the video hasn't even been on for 7 seconds, and I can tell you right off the bat, this guy here has no idea what he's talking about. Ask anyone involved in this research who's done any amount of, reading on the Zodiac case. In fact, Richard Hoffman is one of the few people in the world that we can definitively rule out for the identity of the Zodiac Killer. And let me tell you why. Richard Hoffman was in the ambulance with Darlene Ferrin as she was taken from Blue Rock, the site of the Blue Rock Springs shooting in the morning of July 5th, 1969, to the hospital where she was pronounced dead on arrival. During the time that Richard Hoffman's whereabouts are accounted for, because of that, the Zodiac Killer places a phone call to the Vallejo Police Department. So we know for a fact that Richard Hoffman is not the Zodiac, and the video really should just end there.
Killing his victims so they're his slaves in the afterlife.
He flashes the light. That's Richard. Oh my God, he's gonna kill us both. Once they're tied up, he says, "I'm sorry, I'm gonna have to stab you."
Okay, it's not
and
Richard.
then he stabs her like 9 times.
My grandpa is the motherfucking Zodiac Killer.
No, he's not. Again, Richard Hoffman is one of the few people in the entire world that we can say for sure is not the Zodiac Killer. If you were born, long enough ago to have been a military-aged male from 1968 to 1969, we actually don't know whether or not you're the Zodiac killer. I mean, now, of course, there's other factors, but basically every military-aged male who was alive at that age, or slightly older than that, from 1968 to 1969, is in play as a suspect, except for Richard fucking Hoffman. Okay, let's continue. This is so disgusting.
Hey guys, it's Johnny Mitchell here. Thank you so much for watching The Murder Men. Matt and I are stoked to bring you the best serial killer
It's hard to
content
watch.
we possibly can.
This is already
Before
hard
we
to
get
watch.
this episode going today, do me a quick favor and hit that subscribe button. And turn
I would
on the-
never do that. Now, what I will say in defense of Matthew Cox is Matthew Cox, I'm hoping, as we go forward, is basically a victim of a con at this point. And Matthew Cox is a very, very, very prolific con man. And so it's interesting to see the tables turned on him and to see him be the victim of a con. Because what this person is doing is dishonest and nonsensical. If he's done any reading at all on the Zodiac Killer, he would know that Richard Hoffman has been ruled out.
Bell. And if you're loving the episode, feel free to hit that like button and leave us a comment. Comment some of the serial killers you want us to cover. We're definitely taking feedback right now. We're so excited.
Oh
All right, without further
It's hard to
ado,
watch.
enjoy it. The Zodiac Killer, right here on The Murder Men with Matt Cox and Johnny Mitchell. Matthew, I'm very excited for today's episode. We're going to be talking
I'm nervous.
about who I would consider the American serial killing goat. I would consider him the Jack the Ripper.
Okay, let me talk about something really quickly here. Are you fucking kidding me? GOAT? For those of you who don't know, GOAT means greatest of all time. Let's try not to describe murderous, sadistic terrorists as the quote greatest of all time. That immediately should give you some insight into this individual's intellect
Of the United States in the
And
fact
morals.
that he never got caught.
Right.
Now I know H.H. Holmes, Robert Ben Rhodes, Dahmer, all of these guys, they had more bodies. Many of them had a lot more bodies. The Green River Killer.
Zodiac actually says at one point that he has like 37 bodies.
Wow.
That was a lie.
That law enforcement only knows about
Interesting.
5.
a few of those bodies.
Interesting. So, but at least on record, the scoreboard,
Yeah,
the official
yeah,
scoreboard.
yeah. That
So you can see here that this person has never read the Zodiac letters. He has no idea what he's talking about. He didn't even know that allegedly. Now there's some dispute about where does that come from? Is that from the Exorcist letter or the Toski letter? Point is, Zodiac didn't kill 37 people, but if this guy was familiar with the case, he would know that that was in fact claimed in a letter that is by some believe. It depends on what letter that is. I'd have to review the and see what letter was claimed 37. I think it was Toski, the City Pig Toski. In which case, I don't believe that that's an authentic letter anyway. But the point is that I'm saying is that there has been what is purported to be a Zodiac letter that does claim 37 victims, and this guy has never read these letters, or he would already know that. So he was shocked to learn that, and clearly has no knowledge of the case. Okay,
For
continue.
sure. His numbers are not, his numbers are like 6th man off the bench in a basketball game numbers, right? You're solid, you're a good player, but you're not a starter, okay?
Are you fucking kidding me? Solid, good player, he's saying about Zodiac. This is disturbing.
him the GOAT because the dude got away with it. And in the 1970s, not in the digital age, there was no doubt.
Zodiac's last murder was October 11th, 1969. So he actually didn't get away with any murders in the 1970s.
At a base.
Right.
Right? But still, they were catching people. They caught Dahmer, they caught Robert Ben Rhodes, they were about to catch out of Seattle, they were about to catch Ted Bundy. Look, they had caught, in the 1890s, they caught H.H. Holmes, right?
Right.
These guys killed for a long time, but they got sloppy. It was usually an unlucky, it was a fluke.
Yeah.
They went to his castle, the murder castle in Chicago, H.H. Holmes. They raided it because he was doing check fraud.
Right.
This dude
Who
was
cares?
thorough. The Zodiac killer was.
No, he was not. Okay, let me tell you this. The main reason that we don't know the identity of the Zodiac killer today is because we don't have verifiable DNA in enough of a quantity, or in any quantity that's some dispute, to generate a full DNA profile. If we had the ability to generate a full DNA profile from the Zodiac case, we would, without any doubt in my mind, know the identity of the Zodiac killer. It just so happens that Zodiac was not a sexual offender. He didn't rape his victims. He didn't really have much of a chance to leave biological material behind, like in the case of the East Area Rapist. Now, if the Zodiac had been a sexually motivated offender, doing rapes or sexual assaults, then we would know who he was. It's simply the fact that his modus operandi was to conduct what are basically run-and guns or quick ambushes, with the mild exception of Lake Berryessa. Even Lake Berryessa is a pretty minimal interaction with the victims. And I still do believe to this day that there is the possibility that we can locate evidence that might contain DNA for the Zodiac. If that ever happens, and if a full profile is ever generated from the Zodiac, we will, with 100% certainty, know the identity of the killer. And that's why I've been pushing for so long for the SFPD to re-examine the Paul Stein taxi, to re-examine the Berryessa bindings, and some of the evidence that was left in the case. Now, the evidence is very scant because, like I said, Zodiac was quick. He would show up, bang, 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 and leave. And so there's not really much of a chance to leave DNA there. We have some smudged fingerprints. We live in an age where the gold standard for capturing a violent offender is DNA. And so I've written to the SFPD, and I've really been trying to push this for a long time, that if some evidence could be re-examined, we might have the ability to locate enough biological material for a DNA sample. If that ever happens, we will know who the Zodiac is, okay? Because we now have investigative genetic genealogy and, open source DNA databases are so extensive that he would, without any doubt, be caught.
Yeah, absolutely. He covered his tracks very well, while simultaneously, a lot like Jack the Ripper, was writing letters to the papers taunting them. You're covering your tracks, and then you're also giving clues to the authorities at the same time. So there's a real, issue there with. It's got to be a mental illness of some kind.
And stick around to the end, because although there have been many,
I'm hoping that
different
Matt
theories, people
stays
brought in,
Matt. Because I get it, dude. He has this crazy idiot on his show who has no idea what he's talking about. And for whatever reason, Matt's given him airtime. But Matt has never claimed to be an expert or even a researcher of Zodiac in any way, shape, or form. And so I'm gonna try as hard as I can to really maintain middle ground. I'm just gonna, we're gonna expect that if Matt gets thrown off at any point, that he's probably being deceived by this guy here. Now, I wouldn't be so hard on this guy, except this guy's suspect is the only guy in human history that we can rule out for the identity of the killer. Provided the birth dates are good.
Bex, we think we know recently from a break on TikTok.
Yeah.
A break on TikTok.
Who the actual killer is, or who we can believe with the most probability, the highest odds of who the actual killer is.
There is a 0% chance that Richard Hoffman is the Zodiac killer. There is a 0% chance that Richard Hoffman is the Zodiac killer. Okay? Say it louder for the folks in the back. There is a 0% chance. Yeah.
Fascinating.
Basically all new information.
Ridiculous.
Right?
Yes.
Like it
Completely
started off
ridiculous.
it's funny, this is funny. Like a lot of crimes are a lot of unsolved crimes are now being solved by kind of a internet
Viral
well,
moments.
What crime is being solved by the internet? When? Okay. Crimes, especially homicide cold cases, are being solved by investigative genetic genealogy. They're not being solved by the internet, Matt.
Like just internet sleuths.
Yeah.
Like they
No,
kind of
they're not.
mock them and joke them, right? Joke
No, they're
them,
not.
right? But you have
Internet
to think
sleuths
that
aren't solving
you
anything.
have 3 detectives working on a case, and you throw it out here, and you're at a dead stop, and then suddenly the internet sleuths get a hold of it. Well, you've got it's a 1,000.
Okay, when the internet sleuths get a hold of cases, it's all downhill from there. That's the reality of it. It's hard to. This is something that I had to come to accept. Now, from the beginning of the time that I began researching Zodiac, talking about Zodiac here on YouTube with you guys, I never expected to or claimed to solve the Zodiac case. All I ever sought to do really was to try to clarify some of the narratives and to try to get to the truth as much as possible. But I never expected to unmask the identity of the killer, really. I mean, I have my suspicions in this case in Zodiac, but I have no proof, and I certainly wouldn't say that that it was, anyway.
Of it's a hive mind that suddenly starts solving cases that are unsolved. It's 3 cops, and they have resources, but this is a hive mind.
Investigative
and so that's
genetic
kind of
genealogy is
how
how we
this
solve this.
has happened,
That's how it's
and then these guys get a hold of it, and they go down the rabbit hole, and it turns into a whole. It's actually a whole TikTok sensation at this point.
And the guy who breaks it is the grandson of who he believes did the killings.
Okay, this happens a lot. We saw this with Loringdale Hill. We saw this numerous times. People will come out and falsely accuse their own grandfather of being the Zodiac. I mean, it's ridiculous.
The grandson. And he paints, not only is the circumstances there,
No.
The fact that he believes
There's a 0% chance that Richard Hoffman's the Zodiac killer.
Zero. It's the guy's not the Zodiac's. He's not going to step forward and admit it, right? Like he's probably dead. But everything dovetails in perfectly for this.
And this guy,
No, it doesn't.
Unless he's a super nut job, his family, like his uncles and his parents,
0%.
are like, fuck this kid, how dare he talk about my father this
Correct.
way. And the kid is like, huh? Oh, you want to talk shit, uncle? Been in and out of prison? Like, the kid don't give a fuck. Like, he's spilling the family secrets.
Yeah.
Like, clearly this is something
Attention on.
he's not just doing
passionate.
for views.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
No, he was already super popular on TikTok.
We
before the
know
incident.
where
He was
Richard
on
Hoffman
Bachelor.
was
How that happened.
when
Yeah,
the
he was
phone
doing
call
this.
to the
No,
Vallejo Police
Those niggas
Department was
already get
placed
that.
by the
But,
Zodiac killer. We
he's
know
talking about, like,
where
covering
Richard
shit.
Hoffman
Yeah,
was.
it's completely different.
So
It cannot be
so this
Richard
happens,
Hoffman.
You don't know the Zodiac killer.
It's
These
impossible.
killings happened in the Bay Area, San Francisco and the northern Bay, Vallejo, between 1968 to 1974. This is when the killings just fell off. I'm going to ask you.
Incorrect. See, you're learning, you're figuring out here. This individual has no idea what he's talking about. Zodiac offended on December 20th, 1968, July 4/5, 1969, September 27, 1969, and October 11, 1969. There are no further homicides after October 11, 1969. There are letters that were written, but there are no murders or violent offenses committed after that time.
What do you think about that? Did he die? It remains one of the most famous unsolved serial
Probably,
murder investigations
eventually.
in American history. Now, of course, we don't know a lot, but the
You don't.
speculation is that he's a male born between 1930 and 1940, and this viral TikToker is the dates when his grandfather was born line right up with that. All right. Possibly
A lot of
one the
people
cruelty
do.
that he suffered. I mean, of course he had.
Dude, how many people were born between 1930 and 1930 and 1940? Something like that? How many people were born in that time? It's ridiculous.
Of course, right? This guy's a sick puppy.
How many Zodiac suspects does that give us if we look at every single white male adult born between 1930 and 1940? That's really solid proof, buddy. Keep going down that road.
Yeah, this is kind of like what are they? It's the FBI profile of who this person is,
And how he became such a monster. Just
Just
everything common. All you guys listen to the show.
Ridiculous.
Early abuse, early trauma. Yeah, could just be the devil. The guy's writing cryptic messages. He says he's
Could be the
killing
devil.
his victims, so they're his slaves in the afterlife. I mean, the guy it could just be all nature, but we know that there's some nurture that lights the fuse for these psychopaths, right? Clearly, he was organized and possibly military or an engineering background, because he did. There was a lot of evidence that he was law enforcement.
There's an argument to be made.
There is no evidence that the Zodiac killer was law enforcement. There isn't. There's none. There's zero. Okay. The only things that we have that possibly lean towards maybe there's some kind of connection to that is that I don't even want to give this shit the time of day, okay? But the details that were provided in the 3-part 408 letter to the SF Examiner, the San Francisco Chronicle, and the Below Times Herald, and the debut of the Zodiac letter, the details that are provided in those sets of letters reflect some of the details that are present in the police reports. But that doesn't mean anything really at all. In fact, all it means is that the police reported on the same crime scene that the Zodiac reported on when he was writing about said crime scene. So if the police reports line up with the letters, then all that means is that the killer saw the crime scene, which, duh, of course he did. And furthermore, if the details that are provided in the debut of the Zodiac letter are, quote, sourced from the of the police reports, then we would not see the glitch that happens, because the Zodiac claims that he shot Michael Mageau in the knee. Didn't happen. And if you consult the hospital records and police reports, you can find that Michael Mageau was not in fact shot in the knee, and that's a mistake that the shooter at the crime scene would have made. Based on the chaos of the situation. There is zero evidence that Zodiac was law enforcement. Now, is it possible? Yeah, it's possible. Is there evidence? No.
There is a murder preceding this one.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but it's questionable, and the official narrative does not include it in the Zodiac's murders.
Is this
It's a
Sherry Jo
college
Bates?
student that she gets shot several times, and
What's this?
she was actually in the library.
Oh.
And she leaves a
Sherry Jo Bates was stabbed to death. Now, that's not something... I'm not going to nitpick on Matthew Cox, because, again, he's never claimed to be a Zodiac researcher ever in history, but Sherry Jo Bates was stabbed, not shot.
library.
And I also do not think Sherry Jo Bates was a Zodiac victim.
On a university, leaves a library, and she ends up, someone follows her, and then they kill her. And they've always kind of believed that it may be connected to the Zodiac, only because there's kind of like a poem that's left, but he never took credit for it. And that's a big thing in a lot of the ways.
Well, Zodiac sort of did take credit for Riverside, but only after it was unearthed by journalist Paul Avery. See, what happened was Paul Avery went looking for other potential homicide victims of the Zodiac and uncovered the case of Sherry Jo Bates. And then he reported on that, and then the Zodiac wrote in a subsequent letter that he wanted to give the police credit for stumbling, or quote, stumbling upon his Riverside activity, but he never provided any holdback, and he never claimed responsibility for that crime until after the media put it out there, and there is no definitive evidence or anything linking Zodiac to Sherry Jo Bates.
You're connecting all of these, is the Zodiac took credit, not for all of them, because he said he had killed, like, I want to say it's 37 people, and it kept getting larger, by the way. At one point...
By the way, Zodiac actually never claimed that he killed 37 people. He merely provided a scoreboard at the bottom of one of the letters that says, me 37, SFPD 0. Does that mean that he's killed 37 people, or is he counting other things? I mean, is he counting beard hairs? It could be anything. We don't know. Okay? So Zodiac never really claimed that he killed 37 people.
Says like 12, then he says another one, I think it's 19, then he says 37, and then he disappears. Like the last letter he wrote was me 37, police 0, whatever that means.
Right.
But
doesn't even mean that he's claiming those on.
They've only put together a select few. It's under 10 people.
I bet this guy was like Irish. You know, he likes limericks and poems. You know, the Irish.
See how this shit happens? I bet he was Irish. Like, what? Where do you even get it? Because he's white, or I don't know. Understand it. He likes limericks and poems. When does he ever write a poem? Oh, I was gonna say the desktop poem. There's nothing to connect the desktop poem to the Zodiac, except for Sherwood Morrill, handwriting examiner. And again, Sherwood Morrill, there's no credibility in that claim at all. There is no evidence linking Zodiac to Riverside at all. There's a almost certainly what is a lie by the Zodiac, and then there's the opinions of some people, but there are no poems written by the Zodiac ever. So I don't know what he's talking about.
Irish love poetry. There's a big Irish community in the North Bay, like Vallejo. Yeah, that's true. We've interviewed like an Irish white.
If you're white in
rapper
America,
from that area, it was like, yeah,
if you're
everybody
white
claims
in America,
Irish
you
pride.
probably have
So there you go.
Irish
Probably a cop
ancestry.
from that area.
Well, so the
Whoa! Oh my god, I can't even. He says there's a lot of Irish people in Vallejo, and so therefore Zodiac's probably a cop. What the fuck are you talking about?
Let's talk about the very
Oh
first
my God,
official
it's brutal.
Zodiac killing.
Yeah.
Happened December 20th,
Lake Herman Road. Let's get it.
1968.
Some fun.
It was
On Lake Herman Road in Benicia, California.
Benicia?
It's
pronounced Benicia.
two teenagers, unfortunately. Betty Lou Jensen and David Faraday shot to death with a .22.
Or Benicia,
Considered the first confirmed
Benicia,
Zodiac
Benicia.
attack. So, like David
Benicia.
Berkowitz, the son of Sam in New York, the Zodiac killer targeted couples, young couples, usually unsuspecting.
He also killed Paul Stein.
That was just his MO. Now,
Incorrect. Zodiac's final confirmed victim was a lone male taxi cab driver. No couple involved. Okay.
teens were parked on Lake Herman Road in Benicia, California, when the Zodiac killer approached their car and opened fire. David was shot at close range. Betty Lou was chased and gunned down as she fled. Brutal.
Yeah.
Brutal. So this is, he's targeting people usually in like kind of secluded, wooded areas. The Bay Area is big. There's a lot of, isolated suburbs and
Define wooded area.
rural areas around it. And he was, intentionally picking his spots because he's using a loud firearm, and that just seemed to work for him. The second set of victims happened at Blue Rock Springs Park. This is in Vallejo, California. This is about 6 months later, on July 4th, 1969.
So, okay. January, February, March, April, May, June, July. 6.5 months.
And now pay attention to these murders because this is going to be pivotal to understanding and identifying who the Zodiac killer actually was, according
No, it will not be.
to this TikToker at the very end.
According to this TikToker,
We have
Jesus Christ.
Darlene Farron, 22, and her lover, her date that night, Michael Magay.
Magay. Okay, I can't even. Why are people with this level of lack of insight in this case even allowed to appear on highly viewed podcasts? This video has 48,000 views, and this guy discovered this case fucking yesterday.
Hey, you want to take this over and tell us how this happened?
They're on a date. They're driving, and they believe that they're being followed by someone. So they pull into a park, right? So this is July 4th.
I won't
This is,
fault Matt
4th
on
of July.
anything that he says.
They pull into a secluded park, and they park their vehicle. The vehicle that has been following them at a distance pulls in behind them, slows down for a second, and then drives off. They think nothing of it, no big deal. About 5 minutes, so, they stay there, are they making out, or...
Hand job. This time.
No, they weren't making out or doing any hand jobs. They were sitting in their car. Okay,
was necking.
calm down.
Oh, yeah, they're
necking.
Oh, yeah, necking.
No, they
Yeah.
weren't doing that.
Yeah, if this is 70s, 60s,
Necking.
and you're parked in a car, you're necking.
You're necking, yes.
Also, you know what was one I love?
They weren't.
Parking.
Parking
For like
that's it.
fucking, because people used to smash in their cars.
Yeah.
You can't take your date home.
No, of course.
When you're not, so you're parking.
So they're there. They're sitting in the front seat.
Necking.
Right. And
Okay.
5 minutes later, the vehicle pulls up behind them. At
This fucking crazy guy can't. You hear him snickering in the back. This guy literally can't. He can't even talk about brutal murder without uncontrollably giggling to himself. He's a complete fucking idiot who called Zodiac the greatest of all time. Honestly, this guy's a fucking retard.
point, Michael thinks, because the vehicle pulls up behind them, the door, he sees a flashlight come on. The door opens and the guy gets out of the vehicle. The Zodiac killer gets out of the vehicle with his flashlight. Michael immediately thinks this is a police officer.
Right.
As he's approaching, Michael turns to Darlene and says, get your ID out. So as he's getting his ID out of his pocket, she's getting her wallet out of her purse. She turns, the Zodiac flashes the light.
He's at the driver's side or the passenger
He's
side?
just now coming up on the towards the back of the car. So he flashes his light through
Passenger
the back
side.
window, onto her, into her face, into his face. He's going back and forth between their eyes to blind them, right? Like that's what you do.
Yeah.
That's what happens.
Yeah.
And this is not a well lit area. So, and it's at night. Fireworks are probably going.
It's about midnight. This shooting happens basically sometime between midnight and 12:09 on July 5th, 1969. Now, is it possible that the shots were fired at 11:51 to 11:58? Maybe. But basically, the homicide actually occurs on July 5th.
Right.
He flashes the light, and just as he gets to the front window, Darlene says, "That's Richard. Oh my God, he's going to kill us both." And
okay, Darlene didn't say that. Darlene might have. You see, it's not Richard. Oh my fucking God! It's bad. Matt, just don't make stuff up, okay? Don't get your sources from TikTok. Just take a step back and keep reading, and you'll learn some things. Darlene Farron never said that. There's some. Let me give it to you as Michael Mageau sort of told us. And remember, Mageau's been shot, 5 times and in the hospital at the time. He said, and another thing I'll say about Mageau is that his story changed a lot over the years. I think there are elements of his witness descriptions that are, to some extent fairly reliable, but then that story changed over time. He claimed he was sitting on the pavement for hours after the shooting. We know that not to be true. So just basically take some things with a grain of salt that Michael Mageau says. Michael Mageau said that before Zodiac got out of his car at all, that Darlene may have said to him, "Oh, don't worry about that, that's so-and-so," and he doesn't remember the name. So this game of telephone has now happened where as soon as he's at the window with the flashlight, they said, "That's Richard." It's like, you might as well say, "That's Richard Hoffman, police officer from Vallejo PD." It's just ridiculous, okay?
the Zodiac fires immediately
Ridiculous.
into her several times. I want to say she was struck, I don't know, 3 or 4 times.
Yeah, in the back, and died pretty much instantly.
Right. He then fires.
Darlene was still alive when the killer left the crime scene. She was pronounced dead on arrival at the hospital. In fact, she was still breathing in the ambulance when emergency responders showed up, which actually does really surprise me because a bullet did perforate her heart, or partially traverse it, I believe. So yeah, her still being alive has actually always surprised me. But Richard Hoffman himself talked about being in the ambulance with Darlene Farron, and that he tried to ask her questions, but she was in no real shape to answer any questions, and that he could see the fabric of a bra strap or something fluttering when she breathed in and out. So she was alive in the ambulance.
At Michael several times, turns around and starts heading back to the car.
That's right.
Michael lets out a groan.
Yeah.
The Zodiac hears him, turns around, goes back. Michael realizes he's coming back. He jumps in the back seat.
So that actually, the sequence of events is a little wrong here. Mageau jumped into the back seat before the initial volley of gunfire was let out. Zodiac appeared at the window, and basically gunshots erupted. And as soon as those gunshots erupted, Mageau flung himself into the back. According to the Zodiac, at the moment that Majo flung himself into the backseat of the car, he was just getting ready to squeeze a shot off at Majo's head. Majo then began thrashing his legs out violently to try to ward off the attacker, and then Zodiac was shooting into the backseat. So Majo is already in the back seat before Zodiac leaves the vehicle the first time, before returning for that second volley of gunfire.
Zodiac points
The
at
sequence
fires
is off a
two more
little bit, but
times
again,
into him,
I can't
thinking
fault Matt
he's
too much.
dead, goes back to the vehicle, gets in the vehicle, backs up, drives off.
19 years old, and he survived like 5 or 6 shots.
Right. There were 3
Miracle.
other young teenagers.
Total
that
miracle. Majo was shot in the face, I might add. He was hit through the jaw. The round went through the right side of his jaw, exited on the left, and he was really, really, really lucky to be alive.
With the shots, they come to the vehicle. They see these two laying there bleeding.
It was also shot in the neck.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Darlene's already dead.
Now, I wonder in the aftermath of this,
Miracle.
did Michael go to the police and give a statement, and did they...
Yes, he absolutely did. And you can read that statement online, and the fact that you haven't done it concerns me, because you're on the internet in front of 50,000 people telling us that you know who did it, and you haven't even read any of the police reports.
Start
Disgusting.
looking for a guy named Richard?
What?
What are you talking about? This Richard... See, this is what people do. They come into this case with this predetermined conclusion. Oh, it's Richard Hoffman. And then they start bending or inventing facts so that their Richard story all lines up. Majo never said that his shooter was named Richard. There was no suggestion or indication at all by Michael Majo that anyone named Richard had shot him. It is ridiculous. This is what you call making up bullshit lies and misinterpreting things you haven't even read to arrive at a predetermined conclusion. It is disturbing, and it is no surprise that this person thinks the Zodiac was, quote, the greatest of all time.
They get a statement while he's in the hospital. The local...
Even Matt Cox has read more than this guy.
With cameras, and he's video. They showed him...
Insane.
There's a video of
Just
him
insane.
in his bed talking and explaining the whole situation.
That video he's talking about is actually Brian Hartnell. I'm sure we'll get to that as they go through the case. But there's no videos of Majo in the hospital. Majo was very, for lack of a better word, fucked up from this shooting. He did give an interview to a journalist, but it was not. And I don't remember that guy's full name. The journalist is named like David something, and you can actually still read that interview. It's a very good piece of historical documentation of the case.
Right.
What happens, though, is that those 3 teenagers call the police. Multiple police show up. 20 minutes, 10, 15, 20 minutes later, an ambulance shows up, takes both of them to the hospital. Darlene is dead. Michael survives.
But they get nothing out of it. Like, Richard is not enough.
That's not
for them
enough.
It was never stated by Majo. Do you see what's going on here? This is bullshit. Majo, read the reports, read the interview. Majo never said that someone named Richard shot him. Okay?
Go off of. They don't
Never.
have any leads, any clues.
Not
They don't
one
bring
fucking
anybody
time.
named Richard at the time.
No, and we'll get back to that.
Ridiculous.
We'll get to that
Yeah,
later
so
at the end.
Just
we'll put a pin in
ridiculous.
that, but you remember that because
Let's
it
put
might
a
be
permanent
more
pin in that
pressed
because
It
it's
does,
ridiculous.
The facts dovetail in
Right.
perfectly.
The facts oh my god. Matt, don't let these people fuck you up like this.
The next victims happened a few months.
Before we continue to Lake Berryessa, what I have to say here is that there is a 0% chance that Richard Hoffman is the Zodiac. He's the only adult male in the entire Bay Area that we can definitively rule out as the identity of the Zodiac. It is more likely that Brian Hartnell stabbed himself than Richard Hoffman is the Zodiac. Because we know where Richard Hoffman was when the Zodiac placed a phone call to the Vallejo Police Department. We know for a fact that Richard Hoffman is not the Zodiac.
Okay, there's September 27th, 1969,
I can't say that strongly
at Lake Berryessa in Napa County. The victims are Brian Hartnell, 20, and Cecilia Shepard. Now, the Zodiac was wearing a hooded costume with his symbol on it. This is where he really
Have you ever
starts
seen
to
this?
get devilish,
Weird.
weird, super satanic. Yes.
Do you remember this one where they're basically it's a huge kind of field. There's some trees.
Yeah.
I mean, I take a little bit of objection to the term satanic. I get why people would say something like that, but Zodiac never brought religion into his crime still.
There's a nice lake. They're laying out having a picnic,
Mm-hmm.
and this guy approaches them, and he's wearing this costume with like a weird. I don't want to say helmet. It's not a helmet, but it's like a hoodie.
Yes.
It's like a square hoodie.
Like imagine the Emperor from the Return of the Jedi, like a big cloak thing. It looks like something you would see in like an Illuminati party,
But
like
it's
almost like a stereotype.
Here's the thing,
It
he's kind of
absolutely doesn't look like something you'd see at a fucking Illuminati party. These people are insane.
square.
Yes.
I think everybody's seen this photo.
Yes.
And on him, he's got symbols. He's got
It's not a photo, it's a sketch. And there are a couple of different sketches of this event. One of them is the Napa County Sheriff composite sketch of the offender, and the other is a drawing by Robert Graysmith, a political cartoonist who wrote the book Zodiac and Zodiac Unmasked.
the Zodiac symbol,
Yeah.
his symbols.
He's got like jewelry with these Zodiac symbols around.
Right.
Okay, there's absolutely no jewelry. The logo was hard to use the right word here, but the logo was basically drawn, printed, or illustrated in some way, shape, or form, maybe even stitched on to the bib coming down from the Zodiac's hood. There's no jewelry involved here.
Yeah.
So he
Ridiculous.
walks over.
And this is broad daylight.
Broad daylight.
Imagine seeing that.
They turn around. They don't run.
You're like, is this a guy like right? Is this a guy in costume? Is there like a fair?
Right. So
Is
he
there some kind of gathering of Satan
Yeah,
around
is
here?
there, I mean,
Are
nowadays you
the
probably.
juggalos in town?
I was thinking nowadays you'd think it was the medieval. Is there a medieval
Yeah,
festival?
yeah,
in town?
exactly.
Did I miss something?
Yeah, yeah. Like, where's the camera? They're making a TikTok, right? Like, where's his cameraman?
This
So-
guy's obsessed with TikTok.
He walks up and they don't realize till at the last minute he's
Yeah.
holding a weapon.
Yeah.
He's got a gun. He tells them that he's an escaped convict, that he just killed a guard, he stole a car, the car's too hot, he's not gonna hurt them, he just needs their vehicle and money, all the money. The kid's got like 50 cents on him.
Yeah, he was buying lunch later.
Right.
He had 50 cents.
Right. Brian gives him he gives him the 50 cents, he gives him his car keys, tells him his car's over there.
Mm-hmm.
He throws his car keys back at him and he says, I'm gonna have to tie you up. And he tells him to turn around and he ties them both up.
Well, to do a little bit of a, what is the word for it, pedantic or something, to give to a little bit of nitpicking here, pre-cut lengths of nylon clothesline were tossed from the offender to Brian and Cecilia, and basically he told Cecilia to tie up Hartnell, sorry, and then once Hartnell was bound, or once his hands were bound, then the Zodiac approached, bound Cecilia, and then retied Hartnell tighter and more securely.
Ties them up and then he said, but I'm not gonna hurt you. I just can't leave here. He explains like, and then take the car, whatever, but I gotta tie you up and take the car. And so they let them tie them both up, and then once they're tied up, he says, I'm sorry, I'm gonna have to stab you both. And then he stabs her like 9 times, stabs him several times, thinks they're both dead.
Yeah.
Now they're
This is the guy that this dipshit has been calling the greatest of all time, by the way. Let's really put that, as you hear the details of this brutal, violent murder of Cecilia Shepard here, just remember that this fucking idiot on the right over here called Zodiac the greatest of all time.
Yeah.
They're screaming. This is explained by Brian as just being brutal. They're begging. They're
Yeah.
screaming. After he stabbed them and they're bleeding a ton. He goes ahead. The Zodiac goes ahead, walks off, walks to the vehicle, and then writes a message on the vehicle along with the Zodiac symbol.
Vallejo, 1220. 68, 7/4/69, September 27th, 69, 6:30 by knife.
So he literally gave the police report
Yeah.
in blood on the car.
But what
Okay, it wasn't written in blood. It was written with a black, broad-tipped marker, like like a Sharpie, basically. I don't know if Sharpie existed back then, but basically a large felt tip marker was used to write on Hartnell's car door. And that evidence still exists at the Napa County Sheriff.
Yeah.
Maybe now it's in Department of Justice.
It's nothing. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's not, but it's just,
But it's consistent with what he did, though. That's how they know this is a Zodiac killing, because this is what he did. He left clues, he left messages, he talked in riddles, and you know, the guy was just loved
Zodiac didn't talk in riddles.
to write and leave messages.
well,
By the way, if you're 20, if I'm 20, God bless the dead. If I'm in a big field, if I'm not like backed into a corner,
you just bolt and run.
yeah, I'm running.
Right, but think about the first victim, the girl,
I'm saying, like-
Betty ran. She got shot in the back.
Okay, let me, they left something out. The Zodiac had a controlling weapon on him before he began stabbing. He had what is believed to be either a Browning 32 automatic or a 1911 Colt 45. I personally believe it was an M1911 Colt, and there's some reasons behind that that I guess I won't really get into, but the weapon that was identified in a weapon lineup by Brian Hartnell came down to basically two options, and one of them is a Browning 32 ACP, and the other is an M1911A1 Colt pistol. They both look very similar, especially from the front. There are differences, you know, but you know, I personally think that it was a 1911, and so they were at gunpoint during this. So running, it would have been killed.
Back 5 times.
Right.
So, you know, like,
But they don't know that.
And furthermore, Brian Hartnell did talk about considering the possibility of attempting to disarm Zodiac, and sort of as a test to kind of gauge the possibility of success there, Brian Hartnell asked him, "Hey, can I ask you something? Is that weapon loaded?" Because Hartnell was studying, I believe, criminology or something in his college classes at this time, and he had heard that criminals frequently use unloaded firearms in the commission of crimes like bank robberies or other things. And so he asked the Zodiac, "Hey, is that weapon loaded?" And the Zodiac ejected the magazine and showed him a fully loaded magazine, and then returned the magazine to the weapon. So it was a loaded firearm.
I mean, I'm probably thinking run.
Mhm.
Like, I don't want to be tied up and tortured. I don't want to be
Right.
tied up. Like, if I'm going to get shot, then I'm going to either be
get shot.
fighting or running. I'm
Right.
going to do something. I'm not going to be
Exactly.
inactive.
Exactly.
But who knows? Whatever. You know, you get the fight or flight.
I'm gonna like, hey, she's slower.
Right.
I'm gonna bolt the other
Yeah,
way.
I only have to run.
Yeah, the other thing that I will say about this is, is probably never going to apply to you, but if a criminal ever tells you he needs to tie you up, fight him to the death.
Run back to the Betty. Or
Don't take your
or
chances.
whatever.
And look at my legs. So we cover some ground with these stems.
So keep in mind the
This guy's a fucking idiot.
second set of victims. Remember, Darlene and Michael? I forgot to mention that after they were shot,
Mm-hmm.
20, 30 minutes later, or was it 45 minutes later, someone calls the police, the emergency.
I'm happy that Matt's bringing that up, because at the time that phone call is placed to the Vallejo Police Department, Nancy Slover was the police dispatcher that answered that call at Vallejo. And at the time that phone call was placed, we know the location of Richard Hoffman, and it was not at a phone booth across the street from the Vallejo Police Department. Okay, it simply wasn't. So therefore, Richard Hoffman cannot be the Zodiac. Video should end there.
911 at the time, I don't think. But they call the emergency number, and the
Call the
guy
operator.
says there's 2 bodies that have been two people that are dead. They were shot with a 9mm. There's 2 of them. They're in a brown car, a brown Lincoln or whatever the car is.
Corvair.
And he tells them what location they're at.
Right.
That's where they are. And he says, "I'm the killer." He said, "By the way, I killed those 2 last month also, or last week."
Right. The guy's admitting to almost every
also killed those
murder he
kids
does.
last
That's
year.
why I think
Goodbye.
that I really think he was exaggerating about his body count.
Right, yeah, because he's not afraid to tell you who they are.
You know,
Right?
the third set of murders,
Third set.
okay? And Brian survives the stabbing. Brian
Right.
survives the stabbing. Cecilia dies 2 days later.
Right, they both survive, but she ends up dying.
Yeah.
Too. She gets like an infection. dies 2 days later.
It's not easy to kill someone with a knife.
I don't know if it was an
Really?
infection
Yeah,
as it was that her wounds were just
I'm shocked.
extremely
I've shot
graphic.
all those times and survived.
I'm shocked by it, dude. Matt, do you know how many people I interview for my podcast, The Connect?
The bitch stabbed.
Yeah, I stabbed a guy 30 times and he walked away on the yard. You know what I mean? Like,
Okay,
and I know that
that's
that prison knives
because
are not.
yeah, prison knives are basically do-it-yourself pokers. It would be like me, melting the plastic of this razor over and over again, stretching it and sharpening it that way. Sometimes they're made from razor blades. They're basically made out of, materials like, you get a little pencil or something and shave it down until it makes a poker. The victims at Berryessa were stabbed with what is believed to have been basically a bayonet. Of course, there's a lot of dispute about what kind of knife was used. We don't really know. But there's basically, it was a very large or a very, very effective, weapon that was designed for killing humans, not like a sharpened toothbrush. So that's why you're seeing a lot of prison stabbings that don't result in fatality, whereas with Berryessa, you're seeing just extremely severe wounds. And again, Brian Hartnell's very lucky to be alive, just like Michael Mageau. He, on any other day, he would have died from those wounds, but was extremely fortunate and survived the attack. And it's not really comparable at all to a prison shank.
They're rudimentary sometimes, but this guy
All the time.
This guy
hit
had
a
a
dude.
knife.
This guy had an ice pick.
Right.
An ice pick's not small. You can hit it's long enough to hit an organ.
Right.
This guy touched a dude like 70 times. The guy survived.
I knew a guy that got shot with like an AK-47 like 6 times and survived.
Wild.
And
That's really rare.
Do you have any idea how huge those slugs are?
Yeah.
By the way, you can see where they...
It isn't so much the size of an AK-47 round that does the damage, it's the energy of a rifle round. And that's why they call them high-powered rifles. The energy of a rifle round is substantial. In fact, a 9mm pistol is actually a larger, slug than an AK-47. An AK-47 is a 7.62mm diameter slug. So if you look at the back of it, and you measure the diameter of the base of the round, it's 7.62mm. So a 9mm is actually a larger round, but there's a lot less power behind it. And that's what does the damage.
It went out like his back. Like they shot through him and went out his back.
Well, that's why he survived. Like those slugs that are that big, if they stay in you, forget about it, right? They're gonna bounce around, take out all the
Right.
organs.
Oh, yeah.
So it's when the slugs go through you. But dude, when you get shot 6 times with an AK and you survive, like you can't.
That's
tell
not
me
really
shit,
why
bro.
you
No.
use
You can't tell me
because
shit.
a round can
Wife, you
traverse
want
the
me
heart too.
faithful? You want me to slow? You want me to not drive drunk? Dude, I survived 6 to the fucking chest.
So anyway, luckily Brian survived, so he can completely describe exactly what happened.
Right. However, the guy's fully cloaked.
He is fully cloaked, but at least they kind of, he changed up his MO, right? Like the other ones are at night.
Right.
This is
Ah,
during
he changed
the
up a lot.
day, so he's trying not to get caught.
Yes, he's very calculating. He's very disciplined, I would say. Wouldn't call this guy.
So the reason why a criminal might change their modus operandi to prevent links to the crimes is so that, or might change their modus operandi to not get caught, is to thwart the ability of law enforcement to link crimes together. Well, the Zodiac didn't care about that because he claimed responsibility for that crime. So there's another reason why Zodiac switched his MO at Lake Berryessa. It really doesn't have to do with preventing apprehension.
And that's why I do think the law enforcement theory came into play, because he had the discipline of somebody that knew how to cover his tracks and knew how to kill and knew when to fall back, when to change up.
There's a
Not really, because you've just described 2 sequential criminal offenses where only half of his victims died. So as far as knowing how to kill someone, obviously, yes, he knew how to kill someone, but he wasn't particularly great at it, or he would have done other things to ensure the deaths of his victims. Now, I've talked about this before, that if the Zodiac truly knew what he was doing, he would have shot each of his victims one more time in the brainstem, or he would have stabbed the Berryessa victims in the brainstem. He didn't do that, and so therefore we know he was actually quite inept at killing, and basically only succeeded because he was at close range with high-powered weaponry.
taxi driver. His name is Paul Stein. He's 29 years old. I want to say he also sold life insurance. I don't know why. It's true though.
That's what you had to do back in the day when you're getting your foot in the life insurance
I
store.
don't remember
You
what
drive
Paul Stein
cat.
also
Yeah,
did.
Captain Finnegan.
That's possible.
So he picks up the Zodiac, he drives him to an address, and he actually drives a block past the address.
See,
I don't
Matt
know why
knows
they would
more
mention
about the
that,
case
that
than
maybe
his
they assumed the
inept
Zodiac
guest.
told him, no, go another block,
Right.
whatever.
Matt
Anyway,
knows a lot more about the case
just
than this
as they
other
come
idiot.
to the stop, the Zodiac pulls a
I'm
gun
really
out,
proud of him,
shoots in
actually.
the back
He's
of the head,
obviously
he's
not
dead.
a Zodiac
He then
researcher,
gets
so he's
out of the
doing a really good
vehicle, goes
job
into the passenger
given that,
side,
you know.
takes the guy's money, and then I don't know if he cuts it or he tears a portion of his
Matt knows a
shirt
little bit of stuff.
with the blood, some blood on it, and then he leaves. Now there were people in the building across the street that heard the shots, looked out, but because it's dark, they just initially, well, they describe him as he's leaving. So they see him, they describe him, but when and they describe him accurately, by the way. When I say they describe him accurately, in
That's
between
disputable.
their description to the operator and the dispatcher, there's a breakdown. The dispatcher tells local police to go to the park area right near here, because that's where he was seen taking off to.
Presidio.
And they say they're looking for a guy, and it's a black guy. So the cops pull up on motorcycles, and they pull up in their cars, and they get out, and two police officers are walking through the park area, and
Well-
they actually stop the Zodiac.
That's not really what happened. Donald Falk and Eric Zelms were driving in response to a cab robbery in progress. They were not responding to a homicide. They were not responding to a violent assault. They were really responding to a robbery in progress at the corner of Washington Street and Cherry Street, which was called in by the Robbins kids. And the witnesses he's talking about were from across the street. And as they were driving down, I believe, Jackson Street, they either passed or stopped, and I believe they just passed him, the offender. We know that the man that Falk saw that night was the offender, because the description that Falk gave of the man he saw walking down the street does line up with the description given by the Robbins kids. So we know that that was the offender leaving the crime scene. Did they talk to him? Did they stop him? That's disputed. The Zodiac claims that they did, and the police claim that they didn't. And so there's kind of a breakdown in whether or not that happened. And there have been timeline reconstructions done on Richard Grinell's website, zodiacciphers.com, and there have been other people who tried to break down whether or not the police actually even had time to stop him. I don't think they stopped him. I think they drove past him. I believe Falk's testimony that the Zodiac wasn't stopped. The Zodiac claimed that he was stopped because it made the SFPD look worse. But I don't think that they really had time to stop him, and I don't think that that Zodiac can be trusted there. And they also didn't stop him walking through the Presidio. It was in response to the cab. It wasn't until they arrived at the crime scene in Washington and Cherry Street that they realized that they had passed the offender.
They stop him, they look at him, and they say, hey man, but he's a white guy with glasses. That wasn't the description. And they say, hey, have you seen any suspicious
Went that way.
characters? And he says,
Because you mean
Well,
black guys?
no.
Oh yeah.
they're everywhere. No, he says to him, he
Really
says,
funny.
yeah, there was a guy waving a gun, down there.
Yeah.
They immediately take off running.
Right.
He then leaves, disappears.
Unbelievable.
They drove
So,
away.
And this guy's got a piece of this dead cab driver's bloody shirt
on him, plus the
That's
gun
right.
that just killed him. The only reason they know this is because, now keep in mind, within about an hour, they realize what they've done. That they've got all these cops, they're swarming the area looking for a black guy, and it's actually a white guy there. So, it's too late by then. You already missed the black
Yeah.
guy, he's gone.
Yeah.
So, but the only reason they even know that they bumped into him is because the Zodiac writes a letter where this is, I think, the first letter, and I could be wrong, I don't have the lists of the letters that he writes. He wrote a letter where he mocks the police for having missed him
Right.
and questioning him.
Right.
He said if they had been more concerned about looking for the Zodiac than they were racing their motorcycles and making a bunch of noise in the park, He said they would have had me, but I got away.
Right. And
Yeah.
so, this is unreal. I mean, this is.
This is one of the sketches, by the way. This is one of the sketches.
Right,
All
right.
the sketches are
close.
They're all the same.
Now, can you describe that for me?
So there's only one canonical composite sketch of the Zodiac. Basically, it was released from the Paul Stein homicide scene, and then it was amended, and a second sketch was released. And so there's two sketches of Zodiac, but they're from the. Oh, actually, that's not true. There's a Berryessa sketch. I messed up there. I'll correct myself. There's also a Berryessa sketch that's believed to be the Zodiac. I personally believe that the Berryessa voyeur sketch is in fact the Zodiac. Those two sketches don't really match, though. There's not much, there. But then the only other composites that we have are of the costume. So this
White
is
guy with glasses?
White guy with glasses, average hair. This is what they all look like back then.
Right.
Unless
Right.
you were a hippie.
Yeah, you had close cropped hair,
Yes.
maybe rim-worn glasses, or darker framed glasses.
Yes.
Right. Kind of just like a non.
5'10", average height, average
Oh
this,
my God.
average looking
Yeah.
guy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I could be a serial killer.
if you put on the
You mean
glasses,
the-
though, it could be you.
You mean the 6'6"? You mean the 6'6"
No.
guy with a brontosaurus neck?
No, you're right. That's
Yeah.
too much. I couldn't either. They'd be like that, like the little guy, like the little. Was he like 50% midget?
Did he
Yeah.
kind of look like a monkey? Did he kind of walk like? Did he have the center of gravity like a gorilla? You kind of got that gorilla look where you know what I mean? You're very.
Is he?
You got a good center. No, that's a compliment. That's a compliment. I'd rather be a gorilla than a brontosaurus. You know what I mean?
That
Giraffes,
part goes out.
brontosaurus.
6'6". The fuck out of here. All right,
So this guy takes a page out of the Jack the Ripper's books and mails the piece of the bloody shirt that he took off the cab
Yes.
driver to the fucking cops.
Yeah.
Actually, to the newspapers.
Yeah, which they immediately goes. Yeah, it immediately goes to the top. So yes. So go ahead.
Do you think? Have you seen the movie Seven recently? Have you
I
rewatched
love
it? Loves.
I tried to get my daughter-in-law and her husband
Yeah.
to watch Seven.
Those stupid kids.
They didn't want. They were like, they watched like 20 minutes. They said it's not really our thing. Oh, I'm done.
I'm done with you.
That was actually the last. At that point, I said, yeah, we're done.
Yeah.
I don't even talk to you anymore.
Yeah, you're out of the will that I don't have, but you're not in it.
Seven is
So good.
It's so good. And not just that, did you know that when Brad Pitt signed on, he put it in his fucking contract that the head's in the box.
In the box.
And he said, and guess what they did? At the very end of the movie, they said, well, let's see how it scores with the test
Right.
audience.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so we're gonna shoot
Without the box.
two different scenes where he was gonna have the dog's head in the box. And they were like, so we're gonna do another one where it's he goes, no, we're not. No, they're like, I know it's in your grade. No, we're not shooting another.
Yeah.
That's the scene.
Yeah.
He's like, that's why I wanted to do the movie.
Of course. Of
So
course.
you're not cutting that.
Yeah.
That's the only reason it's probably in there.
Right, right.
Fucking amazing.
Now, did you, the way that the killer, who turns out to be Kevin Spacey, spoiler alert, I feel like they borrowed those tropes of him writing letters. Remember, because he's writing in a huge journal the whole time. I feel, and then of course
there's
It's fairly common with serial
hundreds
killers.
of journals
hundreds
they
of
find
pages
in
of
his
journals. He's calling the cops. He's leaving clues.
Not like
I
most
think
serial
they
killers,
took a
right?
lot of those
What's up,
tropes
Zap?
From
We're
Zodiac.
reviewing.
He was really
a
the
ridiculous
first
video.
American serial killer to toy with law enforcement. And absolutely.
He really wasn't. There had been other people who wrote to the press and to the law enforcement agencies investigating them, but the Zodiac was really the most famous of those, and is really known for it. And the reason why he's so known for it is because he wrote a lot more letters than he did killing. Yeah, but Jack the Ripper wasn't American. He was from England.
I can't really think of another one.
I
can't
can.
really-
Now, you got so you have the Jazzman of New Orleans, the lipstick killer. Basically, wrote to law enforcement. He wrote with lipstick on a mirror at the crime scene. There had been others. I don't know them, but we'll look past that.
Another one, H.H. Holmes didn't do it.
No, you're right.
And especially at this time. So
I'm trying to think.
Yeah.
American serial, yes, because the only one would be Jack the Ripper,
But that's
British. Yeah.
There were others.
That's what
I think we
thought.
just
He
I don't
borrowed
know them.
Some of the elements he borrowed elements from. Actually, this predates Son of Sam. So
Yeah.
Son of Sam, if anything, he took his targets, borrowed his targets from the Zodiac killer. 'Cause remember, he's shooting to death young couples, right?
Son of Sam didn't really borrow his targets from the Zodiac, but the Son of Sam shot at couples in cars, and it's believed that the Son of Sam was heavily influenced by the Zodiac. You'd have to ask Manny Grossman about that. He's the expert on the Son of Sam.
When's the Son of Sam?
He was 1977.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. So
76,
we should
77.
do an episode about David Berkowitz. We should do an episode about that.
Yeah, that's a good one.
So
I would rather this guy do an episode about David Berkowitz because at least he'll be saying true things, not trying to force fit everything to the Richard Hoffman story.
anyways, young Paul Stein is dead. Zodiac gets away. He talks to the fucking cops. I mean, that is out of a movie.
You don't know that for sure.
Out of a movie.
Throughout this whole time, he's written numerous letters. He ends up writing letters that are in I want to say code, but they're
Artemis
They're
Portal back there?
crypto. They're
Yeah, what are they
cryptographic.
called?
They're
Ciphers.
yeah. It's like limericks mixed with
Limericks.
It's crazy.
But I love that.
Okay, the Zodiac didn't fucking write limericks. Stop with the Irish bullshit. Look, Zap, you missed it, but earlier in the show, this guy said there's a lot of Irish people in Vallejo, so therefore the Zodiac was a cop. I swear to God he said that. It's fucking crazy.
The first one that he wrote was they sent it to the police, they sent it to the FBI, they sent it to military intelligence to break it,
Yeah.
and it was a married couple that liked to in their spare time they like to crack codes, and they broke it within a day. Wow! Like literally, it was in the newspaper, and the next day they call the newspaper and say, "We brought it. We got it."
Wasn't
Here's
quite a
what
day.
that couple decrypted. This is what the message was. Dear editor, this is the murderer of the two teenagers last Christmas.
This guy has no fucking idea what he's talking about. Look, this letter here, I'd have to tell you which draft that is. I have to look that up. But basically, this is from the 3-part 408 letter. The first communication from the Zodiac to the newspapers was a 3-part letter, one piece or one letter to 3 different news agencies. They were the San Francisco Chronicle, the San Francisco Examiner, and the Vallejo Times-Herald. Attached to this letter was 1/3 of a homophonic substitution cipher. The part that he's reading was never encrypted by Zodiac. This has always been plain text. So, and that's the Zodiac's handwriting. That's not the Harden's handwriting. You fucking idiot. Okay.
Misspelled. Christmas is spelled with 2 S's. Remember I said this guy was always making spelling mistakes. Now, would he make the mistake of putting 2 S's on Christmas, or is this guy just kind of an artist? At Lake Herman and the girl on the 4th of July near the golf course.
It's hard to watch.
To prove I killed them, I shall state some facts which only I and the police know. On Christmas, number 1, the brand name of the ammo, Super X. Number 2, 10 shots were fired. Number 3, the boy on his back with his feet to the car. Number 4, the girl was on her right side, feet to the west.
This was never encrypted.
Wow. This guy remembered all that. In the dark. 4th of July, the 4th of July murder. Number 1, the girl was wearing patterned slacks, pattern misspelled. Number 2, the boy was also shot in the knee. Number
Not
3,
true.
the brand name of the ammo was Western.
Correct.
This guy had to be a fucking cop. This guy had...
What are you... okay, guys, you're seeing what's going on here. Every single thing that happens leans towards the fucking conclusion that he's a cop because this guy has already made his mind up that Richard Hoffman is Zodiac. Richard Hoffman was not Zodiac, and if you subtract Richard Hoffman from the equation, what part of that letter screams cop to you? Nothing at all. It's ridiculous.
He was like an ammo
Ridiculous.
and gun expert, right? If you look
He
at
was not an ammo and gun expert.
the letter, which we might be able to pop up, it is exactly...
There you go. So this is the 340 cipher. This wasn't decrypted until 2020. That's not the same cipher as the one that was connected to the 3-part 408 letter. The 408 cipher was a homophonic substitution. The 340 was a multi-transpositional homophonic substitution. It took much longer to break it because it was broken into sections, and each one of those sections was transposed. So letters were moved in a set way, which was basically a modified period 19. And the idea was that the reading direction of the plain text was transposed so that the first character was at the top left, and then the second character was moved down one space and over two spaces, like knights move in chess. And so that's when I say multi-transpositional, what I mean is that this cipher was broken up, and you can actually see the breakpoints in the cipher here. I'm not sure if but you see these hyphens here? These denote one section, then another section which goes all the way down to just before the last two rows, and then the last two rows were transposed differently than the way that these sections were transposed. And so what you're seeing is a multi-transposition. Okay, multi-transposition and then a homophonic substitution, which means that the letter A, for example, could be a filled circle, or it could be a zodiac symbol, or it could be a hyphen, it could be numerous characters. The letter A can be represented by numerous characters, but each character must represent the same letter. So like this backwards C, every time that this backwards C occurs, it must mean the same letter. But every time that the letter A occurs in the plain text, it doesn't necessarily have to be encrypted using the same symbol. So that's what homophonic substitution is. If you need further information, Google homophonic substitution and you'll find out all about that.
What they said it was cryptographic. It was a K spelled backwards. It was a 0 with a line through it. It was an S. They almost look like hieroglyphics,
Yeah.
right? Like impossible for the lay person to decipher. The next killing took place a few months.
Not really, because there's contradictions as this guy talks. He talks about Betty and June Harden, or Betty and Don Harden, Betty June Harden and Don Harden, who cracked the 408 in a weekend with pencils and paper. You know, and so is it impossible for the layperson to decrypt a cipher? No, it's not. And he contradicts himself directly when he mentions the Hardens.
Later, about 5 months later, on March 22nd, 1970, the victim's name was Kathleen Johns. She was abducted. Johns claimed the Zodiac kidnapped her
Keyword
on Highway
claimed.
132. She escaped. Zodiac later claimed responsibility in a letter. On March 22nd, 1970, Kathleen Johns reported being abducted on
Do I believe that Kathleen Johns was abducted by the Zodiac killer? No. The reason why the Zodiac was ever brought into the Kathleen Johns incident at all was because when Kathleen Johns was brought to the police department following her, I should say, alleged abduction. There may have been an abduction, there may have not been an abduction, we really don't know. It's possible that there was. I'm not saying that I even believe that there wasn't, but it's disputed. When Kathleen Johns was brought to the police department, she saw the Presidio Heights composite sketch of the Zodiac and said, "That's the man that kidnapped me." Well, there's a lot of dispute about whether or not that sketch even looks like Zodiac at all. I personally do not think that the Presidio Heights composite accurately represents or reflects the appearance of the offender. So, yeah. Was Kathleen Johns abducted by the Zodiac? Almost certainly not.
Highway 132 by a man who claimed her tire was loose.
Yeah.
After hours of terror, she escaped with her infant. Wow, she had her infant.
Well, so what happens is he's driving behind her and he's flashing his lights, pulls up beside her, and he's yelling at her that her tire is loose. And so she, because she's on this long road with an infant,
She doesn't know any better.
she pulls over.
Yeah.
Guy gets out and says, "Listen, your tire is wobbling." Which she, 1970, she's a woman. She doesn't
She's a
really
lady.
like you would listen. My wife would be like I wouldn't fucking know my time. Get the fuck out of here.
Right.
She'd drive off.
I would pull over.
Yeah.
You're like, okay. Can you help me? Can you change the
You
tire?
probably
'Cause I
would, you
can't.
fucking
So
idiot.
he says, "Look, I got the tools. Let me fix it." And she goes, "Okay, no problem." He goes back to the back tire. He loosens all the lug nuts.
This guy is
Fucking-
such a jokester.
Puts it on. Yeah. Puts
He's
it
a
on.
jokester. Okay. Dude, let's just that would be one of the last things that I would call Zodiac.
Gets in the car, says, "Okay, thank you, you're good." Drives off. She then starts driving, and then as she's driving faster and faster, boom, tire falls off. So of course she thinks, oh, he was right. There is a problem.
Yeah.
He circles back around and comes and says, oh my gosh, what's going
I'll
on?
give you a ride into
That's
town.
horrible. Go ahead. He said, hop in the car. I'll take you up to the next gas station. So she goes, okay. She gets in the car with the baby, drives off, and she's driving with him. And she says he passes the next gas
The
station.
room's like a refrigerator.
And she said at that point, she starts getting worried. Then he passes the next one. Then he turns down a side road. Then he turns next. They drive around for the next 2 fucking hours. He starts telling her when she says, "What's going on?" She says at this point she's terrified. She said, "What's going on? Can you please let me go? Can you please let me go?" And he says, "I'm going to throw your baby out off the cliff."
Out the window.
And so at some point, he slows down enough that she jumps out of the vehicle with her kid and runs out into
If that
the
happened,
brush.
good job,
He
Kathleen.
then spends the next hour or 2 hours driving around looking for her, and she just stays down in the brush. Eventually, she runs out and flags down a vehicle, and they call the police. When she gets to the police station, they show her the composite of the Zodiac the two police officers saw, and she says, "Oh my God, that's the man." And she later IDs another guy, by the way. This is years later when he comes up. They show her an actual photograph of another guy, a guy named Kane. We'll talk about him.
Oh, there
She
came-
says, "Yes, that's the man," but he also looks just like they all look.
5'10" with rim horn
Yeah,
glasses.
5'10", brown hair, the glasses, like they
Yeah.
all look the same.
Yeah.
So,
Now let me ask you this: did they ever find? They were ever able to make a fingerprint match?
so he probably touched the tire and the
Right.
thing, right? Lots, right.
Yeah.
So when the cops go back around, I'm glad you mentioned that. When the cops come back, guess whose car is completely on fire and burning? He went back and set the car on fire to get rid of
The
any
guy
evidence.
knew. The guy.
I love how he goes, did they ever make a finger... If they had made a fingerprint match in the Zodiac case, he would be arrested.
Was,
Yeah.
The guy had to have been a law
Fucking
enforcement.
idiot.
He's like,
Yeah,
yeah.
Why did he have to be law enforcement? Look at the way that predetermined conclusions fuck people's heads up. Got a call from prison. Swear. Just make sure that call ends before I continue. If you don't know.
Were you
Just-
thinking
Yeah.
along the lines of they could lift my finger?
Select. There we go. I don't know what you guys missed. I took a pause because I wasn't sure if that call was going to interfere with the live stream. So, let's continue.
Yeah. I'm assuming that the tire was on. Who knows? He probably could have had a can of gasoline.
Right.
Spilled it on the thing to lift the tire.
Goes by, stops by the gas station, buys gasoline if he needs to.
This guy probably already had the gas. I
Right.
mean, this guy, he's prepared.
Do cops all have their fingerprints taken before they join the force?
I would say now they probably do to exclude them from
As part of their background
suspect,
checks,
right.
yeah.
Back then in the in 60s, 70s, who knows what they were.
Right.
Whether we're
Right.
still the country's still being formed practically. This is 20 years after the end of World War II.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Who knows? what
I
they were.
wonder, did he have a criminal record? Like, because, they can connect. It wasn't as easy, of course, as it is now, but,
Several of the suspects have criminal records. So
I
wonder
see.
why.
he probably is at least aware,
Right.
like Prince are aware.
Or if I get picked up for something else randomly later on in life, they might be able to connect the prints. I don't know if he was thinking that far ahead. What about DNA?
I was just gonna say, can you imagine? What always kills me is these guys that, raped 12 women when they were in their 20s,
Yeah.
and now they're
You're
70
on.
years old, and the cops show up and arrest them because their grandson got a 23andMe, and suddenly they show up like, oh wow,
Grandpa, guess what? It's like Christmas time.
Yeah.
He's like, Grandpa, you spit in this cup and we can see where our ancestors are from. He's all excited.
no, not even Grandpa. The kid did. Like,
Yeah,
whatever
yeah.
the kid does it,
Oh.
Grandpa's smart enough to never do that.
Right.
He doesn't realize that if my grandson does it, my grandson does it, and I had no idea. And
Even
one
a
of the
fourth
cops showed up
cousin.
and Say your grandson spit in a. We got his DNA. We ran the searches. We just found out it was your semen in these 4 women, and we believe we're still checking on the other 2. And guess what? You're going to prison for the rest of your life.
Wow.
You'll have 2 of them
I'm gonna
dead
tell
or
you
whatever.
she wants you to buy a new
Yeah,
guinea pig.
exactly.
We got a new one already. Her name is
Like,
Evie.
no, I don't- what
So
are
we
you
have
doing?
3 now.
And they're like, fuck.
They're like, I made it 60 years.
Yeah.
Can't I just call it
retired.
We
Can't
have
just call it
Evie,
yeah, can't
Lily,
we
and
just-
Sadie.
I was in my 20s. You know how crazy you get when you're in your 20s? You probably did some crazy stuff, right?
Yeah,
No.
probably not rape and homicide.
You're like, hey, all's well that
A
ends
little
well,
too late
man.
now for that out.
But yeah, but no, there's no DNA.
Right,
There's
right.
no DNA. And they've tested the letters,
Yeah.
and it's
Yeah.
always inconclusive. It's too
Yeah.
old, which kills me. Because, you know, in the 1960s, there's no fucking way you're thinking DNA.
Well, listen, man. We just talked about this. The Menendez case. They couldn't even run the letter that was written in 1989 from Eric Menendez talking about his father's abuse of him. Like, it was already distorted.
Yeah.
So it's definitely not a letter from 1969 is definitely not giving you anything in terms of DNA. So
But they have tested them, by the way. So I do know that. I know
Right,
that they have
right.
been tested.
Right.
Just like the Ripper letters have been tested, which were obviously written by him.
yeah,
There's no doubt.
exactly. Okay, so couldn't get any fingerprint matches, even
There
though
is that actually.
he
about
also left his prints in Pulse 9's cab.
that. Sort of.
He had letters with his
They're not very
saliva on
good.
it, right? Fingerprints on envelopes, stamps, right? Even boot prints, but they couldn't make a match because he didn't have his prints in the system, obviously. That's what that tells me.
Also, in the 1960s and 70s,
Yeah.
you know, can you test for DNA? Is it too degraded? Are his fingerprints on file?
Well, clearly
Some
they're
of these
not.
guys,
Right.
but the
Or
other thing is
they don't database it. They don't
have a database
yeah.
at the time,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So I love that. You ever seen the old police shows where they literally
Yes, yeah, yeah.
slide the thing?
Yeah.
Hard to watch.
How accurate is that?
Right, like I gotta go with your word that those are the same prints.
Wait a minute. 60 files ago, I think I
Yeah,
saw him.
yeah.
Give me that one.
A good lawyer should be able to beat that.
Yeah, it's insanity.
Beat a fingerprint
Yeah.
match?
Yeah, so look, the bottom line is,
Good luck.
I mean, the closest thing, when you look at the suspects that they bring in,
Good luck.
one of them had a similar boot print. I mean, they got close to a few people, but ultimately, it wasn't until this TikToker came along and ratted on his grandfather do we think that we find.
I'm going to say this again for the people in the back. Richard Hoffman is the only military-aged male alive at the time of the Zodiac killer murders that we can definitively rule out as having been the Zodiac. There is a 0% chance that Richard Hoffman was the Zodiac killer. 0 fucking percent.
Have the guy. How would you feel about that if your
No.
dad was a serial killer
End of story.
and your son just goes online and starts
Yes, I did
just
see that.
spilling the beans, starts giving the tea, snitching?
It'd be okay.
Yeah, yeah, fuck that old guy.
I mean, they had
he's
him
dead already.
pretty dead to
He's
rights,
got all-
Zap.
even-
That was pretty much a wrap in that
Your
case.
dad would do. What's going on? I'm gonna put money on your books. I'm gonna come
Yeah.
visit you.
Hey, Dad.
But
hi.
hey, wow,
Hey, we gotta talk about something.
crazy. A lot of stuff makes sense now.
Yeah.
A lot of stuff
Holy
makes sense,
shit.
yeah.
Yeah, that's why I came home and saw like slaughtered animals, you know, in a circle, and you wearing that weird Jedi mind
So this
outfit.
never happened.
That weird, almost like Orthodox priest outfit. You know what I mean? Yeah.
With the symbol.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now I want to ask you something. Maybe we're getting ahead of ourselves. Why did the killing stop? What year did
We don't
Richard
know.
Hoffman, who we're about to talk about, die?
Richard Hoffman lived to like, I want to say, in the 2000s, I think. When
Yeah.
did he die? I think he died. He didn't die that long ago because he participated in a documentary about the Zodiac case. He died in 2020. Why did it stop? I don't know. I'm sure his grandson has a reason. There's lots of reasons that these guys stop. Some of them simply age out of it. Some of them some of them will get into a relationship. Does it make sense? Like
Right.
sometimes they're doing this. Now he happened to be married at the time, but there's numerous reasons why sometimes they stop. They don't typically stop because They don't typically stop because
The urge goes away.
it
There's
goes
satiation.
away. It doesn't.
Right.
It doesn't go away, but sometimes they will. Typical reasons that they stop is incarceration for something else.
Right.
They become physically unable to do it,
Right.
either through they age out or they get into an accident. You know,
Right.
they die.
Paralyzed, whatever. They're
Right.
physically not able to do it.
Or they enter into some type of a relationship
Right.
or place themselves in a situation where they can no longer comfortably
Have access
have
to it.
access to
So
it.
maybe if we're going to assume that Richard Hoffman was a police officer, I believe he was a police.
Okay, Richard Hoffman was a police officer, but he wasn't the fucking Zodiac killer.
Officer with the juvenile unit at the time.
Right.
Say he gets transferred. Say he gets whatever happens. He gets laid off. He gets moved to a desk job. Circumstances change.
Right.
And maybe it's now the 70s. He's pushing 40. He doesn't think he can get away with it. Maybe he's I don't know. They have to move out of the area for a while.
You don't know anything.
Whatever it is. But our man, who we do believe is the most likely suspect.
Yes. Yeah.
He is the least likely person in human history to have been the Zodiac. Assuming alive people, okay? People who were contemporaneously alive with the Zodiac. Everybody who was a white male adult from 1968 to 1969 is inherently a better suspect than Richard fucking Hoffman. I shit you not. If you were a white male adult, you don't even have to live in California at all. You could have commuted from fucking New York. Are you still up? I'm getting calls from prison. Okay, I think we're back. If you were a white male adult in 1968 to 1969, you are inherently a better suspect for the Zodiac killer than Richard Hoffman. There is a 0% chance that Richard Hoffman is the Zodiac. Richard Hoffman has been definitively ruled out. Say that again for the folks in the back. Richard Hoffman is definitively ruled out. No ifs, ands, or buts about it.
The Zodiac killer.
Like I said, you're gonna hear when we're gonna show some of the TikToks that his grandson, like some of the facts just dovetail. They dovetail in
Yeah.
at least as well, if not.
Literally, you guys, there is a better chance that Neil Alden Armstrong, commander of Apollo 11, was the Zodiac killer than Richard fucking Hoffman. Because you could say, well, Neil's Apollo 11 flight hadn't left on July 5th, and there's a very conspicuous gap between July 5th, 1969 and September 27th when the next offense happens. In fact, I think that the astronauts were out of quarantine by September 27th. So you could account for the moon landing, the Apollo 11 moon landing, and their time spent at the Lunar Receiving Laboratory in quarantine, and you could still have Neil Armstrong be the Zodiac. There is a much higher probability that Neil Armstrong is the Zodiac killer than Richard fucking Hoffman. Because we know where Richard Hoffman was when the phone call was placed to the Vallejo Police Department, and it was not in a phone booth. So there's a 0% chance. That's good.
More so than the police's top suspect.
Yeah. He was an insider.
Yeah, and this guy is at multiple
Ridiculous.
murder sites.
So tell us about this guy, Jay Ford. You can go look him up. He's a big TikToker.
This dumbass from TikTok who slanders his own grandfather because he's a piece of trash with a face tat. Richard Hoffman was not at multiple Zodiac crime scenes. He was only at Blue Rock Springs. He was the first or second officer on the scene at Blue Rock Springs, actually, in an unmarked police car. But, you know, unfortunately for Jay Foy, one of the greater frauds that's ever existed in this case is a slanderous, libelous piece of human trash. We actually know... Yeah, shut up, Zap. We actually know where Richard Hoffman was when the phone call was placed to Nancy Slover, and it simply could not have been Richard Hoffman. There is a greater chance that Buzz Aldrin was the Zodiac. It's simple as that.
Started out making like recovery videos. He was a recovering alcoholic, former law enforcement officer.
He was a police officer for 10 years in the Navy. And then why he got out, I don't know. I know he has an alcohol problem. Is that why he left? I haven't seen a video that explains why he left the Navy. Regardless, 10 years, won multiple awards, didn't seem to ever have any problems as a police officer. He gets out of the Navy. He does have an alcohol problem. He gets sober. He has several relapses. He is
and then he begins slandering his grandpa.
These long periods.
Piece of trash.
So he ends up
Piece of trash.
going on a bender for, I think he said 11 days, basically a couple weeks. And then cold turkey stops. When he stops, his body goes into, what is it?
And it was at
Some
that
kind of
moment he
shock or
decided
something,
that Richard
and he ends up
Hoffman...
having a massive heart attack from the withdrawals, which you told me is, I didn't know that was a real
dying
thing.
of alcohol withdrawal is the only drug you can actually die from overdosing on.
Yeah, that's,
I'm sorry, from withdrawing.
You can also
Yeah,
die
that's
from the
nuts. I
withdrawal of
didn't know that.
benzodiazepines and
So
barbiturates.
He ends up having this massive heart attack, goes into the hospital. I don't know if he had bypass surgery or what happened, but regardless, he gets out. He starts making TikToks. He makes TikToks. He's actually doing very well. He did very well for several years. He's making over $100,000 a year just doing TikToks
Just
about
making short videos.
videos about recovery. And then one day,
He decides...
so I'm saying that because
One day he decides...
doesn't need to manufacture anything.
Right, just to go viral. Yeah.
Already doing amazing.
That's the thing, you know, us in the Zodiac community never heard of Jay Foy until he came out and started slandering his grandpa. But if that's all true and he was already a viral person before he decided to do this, then it just really makes you wonder, like, why then did he do it? Because that now he's even has less reason. I could get if he was like He Who Shall Not Be Named and he was saying that Loring Delahill was his grandpa because he wants to be famous and make money at Zodiac. At least he would have an excuse. But if his whole thing like was that he was already rich and famous, and he still made this bullshit up, yeah, I don't know. But we know for a fact that Richard Hoffman is not Zodiac.
And then one day he's doing some research on his family, and he puts in his grandfather's name, and he realizes that his grandfather, there's a bunch of internet sleuths out there that are researching his grandfather.
Yeah.
And they're saying he's the Zodiac killer, and he's connected in all these ways. And so it wasn't him deciding, I'm going to try, my grandpa.
Richard Hoffman is not connected as the Zodiac at all. The only connection that he has to the case is that he was a police officer who responded to a shooting. That's it. One time. Richard Hoffman responded to one Zodiac crime. It was the shooting at Blue Rock Springs. And of course he did, because that was his fucking job. He was a Vallejo police officer. And so if you get shot in Vallejo, and a Vallejo police officer responds to your shooting, don't be surprised.
Well, was a police officer in the area.
Ridiculous.
These were other people's. So he spends a week reading all this stuff.
Spends a
And
week.
at that point, he starts
Realizes-
really looking into it. And he's lucky because he has access that the internet sleuths don't have, right? He can call his mother.
Mm-hmm.
He can call his aunt. He can call. So he starts making phone calls and really starts making the connections.
Right. And his name was Richard Hoffman, as we said. Now, the centerpiece of his grandson, Jay Ford.
You know, I just feel like someone would have noticed those ears, you know? It's, and his eyebrows, too. I think that those are very defining features of Richard Hoffman, and, not to put too much stock in the Widow's Peak thing, but Donald Falk seems to believe, as of his, you know, now he's dead, I guess, but, Donald Falk seemed to believe that, the man he saw had hair that came down in the front, and, you know, whether that's a Widow's Peak, he called it a Widow's Peak, and I know that that wasn't in his initial reports, but later on, Donald Falk claimed that the man he saw had a Widow's Peak, and we don't see that either with Hoffman. So.
Well, his theory.
But it doesn't matter because he's ruled out.
The date of the
Doesn't
attack
fucking
in Blue
matter.
Rock Springs Park, where Darlene
Even
Ferrin
if Richard
was murdered.
Hoffman had a widow's peak, wore horn-rimmed glasses, and was 200 pounds and 5'10", and owned all the same guns or types of weapons as the Zodiac, he's still ruled out. Richard Hoffman could have owned a black square hood with the Zodiac fucking logo on it, and he's still ruled out.
And 19-year-old Michael Mcconnell survived.
Mcconnell.
Remember, he survived all those gunshots, crawled into the back of the car.
It's ridiculous.
Got shot 2 more times, but survived. Boy asserts that Richard Hoffman was the first responding officer on the scene, placing him at a pivotal moment in Zodiac history. Now, I also want to point out that Richard Hoffman served in the very jurisdiction where the Zodiac first struck.
Hoffman and his partner, his patrol partner, whatever, they're driving around patrol. They're both married, by the way. So they're both married, and they're both sleeping with Darlene.
Darlene Ferrin, the
Yes.
big
Hoffman, Richard Hoffman, I believe, responded to Blue Rock Springs alone. I don't think he had a partner in the car with him at that time. But if he did, then that is even more evidence to show you that he's not Zodiac, because why wouldn't that guy be like, oh, you know, why would that? It's just retarded. It's just the dumbest fucking story I've ever heard.
him the night of
And also, I don't think there's any proof that Richard Hoffman was banging Darlene.
the Blue Rock Springs Park attack.
Correct. Now, many of her friends already knew that she was sleeping with the partner. All right, his name is Mike or Michael or something. I forget. But they knew this. This is common knowledge. So when they have such disputes, they actually have to be separated. And at some point after the separation, Hoffman is he's given a promotion to go work for the
juvenile.
The juvenile.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So they're not
The
saying that he
juvenile
was.
partner.
He responded.
No, it was just him driving around. And
Yeah.
Juvenile
There
at
you
that time, being in charge of the juvenile or being a juvenile officer, one of the things you do is you drive around
At
to
night,
all
yeah.
of the kind of the makeout
things out.
spots
Yeah.
to make sure these young whippersnapper kids aren't having sex in their cars.
Right.
So he's constantly driving around to these different areas.
Right.
So remember we talked about how
Okay.
they
So,
were this couple.
if the guy's job is to drive around lovers' lanes at night, and he's a police officer who is, you know, responsible for or dutifully bound to responding to violent crimes as a fucking police officer, and he so happens to stumble upon a violent crime at a lover's lane, why the fuck are you surprised that he was there?
People was driving around, they thought somebody was
Ridiculous.
following them.
Right.
They pull in. When they pull in
Very,
and
very
park,
stupid.
5 minutes goes by, and the person that was following them comes back around, pulls in behind them, gets out. They believe it was a police officer because he pulls out his light and walks towards them.
Right.
At the last minute, Darlene realizes that it's Richard, and she says, "Oh my God, it's Richard. He's going to kill us both."
Darlene Ferrin never said, oh my god, it's Richard, he's going to kill us both. That never happened.
Boom! He starts firing. Michael
That never
says
happened.
this in the hospital.
Yeah.
He
This
said
is
it
a lie.
Numerous times on because
It's
he's
a
been
fucking
this has
lie.
been interviewed over and over again
Right.
for different documentaries.
Right.
He says it over and over again. Richard.
No,
Notice
he
how we
doesn't.
got Richard.
So
There
now,
it is.
not only
He doesn't
do we
say
have
that.
placed at the scene, we have
doesn't say
the
that.
opportunity, crime of opportunity.
Never
He's,
happened.
Patrolling by himself in the area where the crimes were taking place.
In case you're just joining us, Darlene said to Michael Mageau, allegedly said to Michael Mageau, oh, don't worry about that. That's just so-and-so. and the name that she gave to Michael Mageau was something very short, possibly one syllable, just a short, basic name. And she said, this is not even confirmed that this happened. This is Mageau telling us that he remembers this happening. And Mageau has also remembered some other stuff incorrectly, so don't put a lot of stock in every single thing that Michael Mageau says. But even if you don't, Michael Mageau didn't say that Darlene said, oh my God, it's Richard, he's gonna kill us. He said that she said, that's just so-and-so, don't worry about him. And the name that Darlene allegedly relayed to Mike doesn't remember what that name was. It could have been fucking anything. It could have been Bob.
Darlene
Ridiculous.
IDs him immediately, and she knows.
No,
How does she
that didn't
know
happen.
that he's a killer? Like a
She doesn't know,
psycho?
like,
That
we
didn't
don't know that
happen.
she even saw him. She just realizes at the last minute. She realizes it's him because
Well, she does recognize him.
No, she doesn't.
You know, my question is, how does she know?
She doesn't.
instinctively that he's here to kill
Not
us?
true.
Well, because we know this because she has said to multiple friends that he was jealous. She had a painting party, like a few days prior to this, that he showed up uninvited, and she specifically told her friend.
I love this painting party thing because every time someone has a suspect, they say that, and you know what I realize, we're going to talk about this next. Every single time that someone has a suspect in this case, they claim that that suspect showed up to Darlene's painting party uninvited. It's like the new thing. So it's like, if your suspect's name was Joseph, then you're going to go, well, Joseph was at Darlene's painting party uninvited. I swear to God, this happens every single time someone has a suspect, whether that's Arthur Lee Allen, whether it's Richard Gatkowski, Lawrence fucking Kane, or remember Zodiac Jeff? Yeah, those were the days. I totally agree. Zap, can you, I gotta get Discord, because we used to have, like, a lot, is the Discord still really active? Am I the only person who's just not active there anymore, or has the whole scene slowed down? I'm wondering. Yeah, every single time that someone has a suspect, that's one of their claims. They say that that guy was at the painting party. I've heard this so many times before. I think that Matt is confusing the Gaikowski people with the Hoffman people, and both of their names happen to be Richard. Don't use Discord. Okay. So, like, it has been said by numerous Gaikowski folks that Richard Gaikowski was at the painting party, and so that's probably where the initial beginnings of this Richard thing come from. And then now it's been, thanks to TikTok, morphed into Richard Hoffman. Now, just more evidence to show you that even if Darlene said it was Richard, which she didn't say, then it could have been Richard Gaikowski also, because his name appears in the 408 cipher, and I still don't think he's the Zodiac either.
That she was terrified of him, and he was super jealous, and that she was scared. She was scared of him.
He knew she was sleeping with his former partner.
Yes.
And married. I mean, this chick.
Right.
You never hook up with a girl named Darlene.
Right.
Dude. She's sleeping with the whole town.
Michael said
That's just
that Darlene had told him during another, not at this point, at this time, but earlier, let's say weeks earlier, whatever, when they started to see that this guy was super jealous, and that if he ever caught them together, he would kill them. So she has said this.
Wow.
So once again, it was the
like
last
the Evie over
second.
there.
Flashing the light, she turns around and says, "Oh my God, it's Richard. He's gonna
Right.
kill us." Fires on both of them. Now, when he leaves, and he gets the call that there's been a shooting. He's only down the street. He shows up in about 90 seconds, like a minute and a half, 2 minutes. He shows up on the scene. But by the time he gets there, there's already another police car.
Right.
Supposedly, he tells the police car that's there, 2 officers. I don't know if it's 2 units or 2 officers. He says he's good. He's on it. They can leave. So he tells them to leave. He'll wait for the ambulance. Seems strange to me.
So super strange.
I
Well,
don't
why
know
did
that that
they-
happened either, because both Michael Mageau and Darlene Ferrin had sustained extremely critical gunshot wounds, numerous gunshot wounds, and I don't think that even if Richard Hoffman had told the other police officers to leave, that they would have left. That's not how these investigations work. If someone gets mad dumped with a 9mm, The one cop can't just go, "Oh, it's okay, everybody else leaves," and they listen to him. That didn't happen.
There's an officer, you know.
Right. I don't know. You think everybody would come, right? We don't know if the guy, the shooter's still around.
Right.
He certainly knew he wasn't around.
Right.
Michael had, by this point,
He didn't certainly
was
know.
out of the vehicle. He's laying on the asphalt. Michael's not dead. He's laying there bleeding out. He's not conscious, but he's not bleeding out.
And all the more reason why those police officers would never have left the crime scene. Ridiculous.
Not give first aid. He actually takes a green, and I'm sure I'm going to say this wrong because I know I say this wrong, crayon.
Crayon.
He grabs some chalk and he outlines the body while the guy's still alive.
Oh my God.
It takes 5 or 10 minutes for the ambulance.
I don't know if that's true.
He's dead. He's not dead. 5 or 10 minutes for the ambulance to show up. The ambulance shows up. They give CPR on the way to the hospital. Jay, his grandson, said he makes an argument that there's no way to give CPR in one of these old style ambulances, but I don't think that's true. Because I think that you can. I think if they're down, I think there's probably just, I don't know that you have to have that much room, but whatever. Because I've watched a ton of his videos on multiple, because he's constantly coming up with new information.
Right.
So the point is,
he's constantly coming up with new. I'm sure he is.
Within a day or two, Michael is talking to the press and he's giving interviews.
Oh. Zap, that's Matthew B. Cox. He was #1 on the Secret Service Most Wanted list. He was a real estate fraudster and con man. He actually runs a really good channel called Inside True Crime with Matthew B. Cox, and he's never been a murder investigator, so I'm not giving him as much flack as the other guy. But they're both, yeah, he was a major fraudster. Look up Matthew B. Cox. He also appeared on Dateline. And he wrote a book called Shark in the Housing Pool. He's a pretty notorious criminal. He did 14 years in federal prison, or 12 years.
And saying the same thing. Richard showed up, had a light. I thought he was a police officer. He now doesn't think it's a police officer.
But I will say also, yes, don't trust Matthew B. Cox.
The guy didn't have a uniform, and it wasn't a police car.
But I do like Matt Cox.
A plainclothes car.
So Richard Hoffman, he really got away.
This idiot, I don't
with
know.
something. It was kind of a close call.
Yeah.
Because he wasn't able to kill this kid. You're potentially leaving a witness.
Right. But it's dark. He's got the light, and as he's approaching, he's flashing the light in their faces.
And they get shot immediately. Like as soon as she says he's gonna kill us, boom, boom, boom.
She never said that.
Go off.
Right. And so there is no ID. Michael says specifically, like, I didn't see him. He was shining the light in my face. I couldn't see him.
Right. I wonder if he was unconscious as he was laying on the sidewalk bleeding.
Michael Mageau did give some physical description attributes of his assailant. And funnily enough, actually, and this is something that's completely omitted by the idiots of the Hoffman crowd, that the description that Mageau provides us is not in any way consistent with Richard Hoffman's appearance. But it doesn't matter because Hoffman is definitively ruled out. We know with 100% certainty that Richard Hoffman cannot have been the Zodiac killer. But excluding that, the description that Mageau gives of his assailant, of the offender at that crime scene, does not at all line up with any aspect of Richard Hoffman's appearance. Okay, let's
continue. For the ambulance.
I mean, even if at that time he was conscious and saw, he's now just a police officer.
Right.
He's not going to say, "Oh, that's the same guy."
Right. He didn't see the guy. I mean, yeah, exactly.
He did see him a little bit.
Help, backup could have showed up, and they said, "Richard, do you have the victim?" In front of
and you'll notice that these folks, these Hoffman morons, will never address the fact that that Mageau did provide a description of his assailant, and that description was that he had medium light curly hair. He was a heavy-set man. Mageau's height estimates of Zodiac are probably wrong, and there's some reasons for that. Mainly viewing perspective, I don't want to get into the details there, but basically Mageau underestimated Zodiac's height, and he said that he had medium length, curly, light brown to blonde hair, and Hoffman is a dark-haired man. I don't know how tall he is or how heavy he was, but none And so they won't even look at. They're gonna say, "Oh, he never provided a description." Because if they admit that he provided a fucking description, then they would have to contend with the fact that that description is entirely contrary to what we know about what Richard Hoffman looks like.
Right?
But it doesn't matter because
Maybe
Hoffman's
somebody
old
could
out.
get- You know, it's plausible that he could have ID'd Richard. Anyways,
Right, but
he got away with it though.
Back then, keep in mind, you know, if you were a police officer, if you were above reproach, right?
Of
Like
course.
you just
Of course.
nobody believes you would be involved
Yeah.
in.
Yeah. Now, I want to point out that Jay Foy, the grandson, he confirms the characteristics of his grandfather. The same thing that Darlene said to her friends about Richard.
Extremely jealous, extremely controlling.
Yeah, obviously cheating on his grandmother.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah. No. Yeah. Known to.
Indication that the Zodiac cheated on a spouse. We don't even know that Zodiac had a spouse. There's just no overlap. So, regardless of how Richard Hoffman acted in his domestic life, which may or may not even fucking be true in the first place, because you can't trust anything that Jay Foy says. You know, it has not applicable. It's like me saying that, oh well, I have a friend who really likes spaghetti. And the Zodiac really likes spaghetti, and so therefore my friend is the Zodiac. It's like, first of all, we don't even know that the Zodiac likes spaghetti, and second of all, who fucking cares, because it's not relevant.
Basically a monster. He pushed everybody around. He had complete control of everyone.
Yeah.
He was a horrific individual.
Yes.
But he
To
was
the
not the
point where
Zodiac.
His kids wouldn't talk to him. It like that
that
sort of
right?
yeah.
Wow.
And keep in mind too that his son, that both of his sons
Zodiac
end up,
really likes spaghetti.
having trouble with the law.
Mm-hmm.
Therefore,
I don't know if you want to play that video.
They
where
both
he-
become
insane.
cops.
Insane.
Huh?
Oh, I'm sorry. His grandson.
Yeah, they both no. That Hoffman, both of his sons, have problems with the law.
Mm.
They're constantly in trouble.
So-
We know at least one of them is in and out of
It's
jail
nothing to do with
throughout his whole
Zodiac.
life.
Right.
And
Has
his
nothing
kids
to
don't
do
even
with
talk
him.
Right. Yeah,
So-
there's a whole family full of zilches.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's issues. There's issues.
Yeah.
So do you want to?
Yeah, moving on. There's further similarities, which Jay.
There have
Foy
been no similarities so
exposes
far
on
at
his
all.
TikTok. He says Richard Hoffman, his grandfather, was
We are 53 minutes and 41 seconds into this monstrosity that's 1 hour and 15 minutes long. And, they haven't provided, not only have they not provided any indication that Hoffman was Zodiac, because they can't, because he wasn't, they haven't even provided any piece of really credible information. They give you a Wikipedia rundown of the case and then reframe it so that they can claim that it's Hoffman, but they don't even do a very good job at it. And we already know for a fact that Hoffman's not Zodiac, so it's really, really, really stupid. And they've made no progress at all.
known to misspell things.
Oh, he's known to
Right?
misspell things.
Yeah.
Also points to a striking similarity
Oh.
in the language. to
Well, then
Zodiac
that's
Killer.
Yeah, so
case
can I
fucking
mention
closed.
something, dude?
Yes.
This isn't like, hey,
So a guy who can't spell must be the Zodiac. So therefore, I think everybody on the fucking entire internet is the Zodiac because there's a lot of misspelling. And sometimes Zap, I think even you fucking spell things very wrong.
my aunt said he was a bad speller. Jay goes back and he through the Freedom of Information Act, right? It's actually in the state of California. I think it's called the Freedom of Public Records Act.
Yeah.
So he's able to get a bunch of reports, police reports that were written by his grandfather in his grandfather's handwriting. And I want to say he said there was 12 or 13 words that he continuously misspelled, or it was punctuation and misspellings that are identical to the Zodiac Zodiac
Prove it.
letters that were sent to the
Also,
not
doesn't even
police,
matter.
to the,
It
to
does,
the-
look,
to the clerks.
that's the best part of all of this is that it doesn't matter what data you unearth. Hoffman cannot be Zodiac.
press, to the
Yeah.
press
Yeah, one of them was like, for example, until.
until so 2 L's.
Yeah.
2 L's at the end.
I
Right.
did that as a child. So I made that mistake I used to spell until with 2 L's when I was a kid in elementary. I remember specifically. It's a very, very common misspelling.
Yeah, it was just, and he fit the physical description.
No, he doesn't.
Yeah, the picture's identical. And
It's not identical. He doesn't fit the physical description. There's absolutely nothing there.
For that, he wrote poems. He spoke in
Zodiac never wrote poems.
in kind of lyrics,
That's
and
right.
Zodiac didn't speak in lyrics.
limericks, or whatever you say.
Zodiac didn't write limericks.
Right, limericks, yeah.
Yeah, he spoke.
This
in-
guy's obsessed with limericks. This guy in limericks. I swear to God, dude. For the rest of the video, we're gonna call that guy Mr. Limerick, and we're gonna call him Matt Cox because he's Matt Cox. But we have Mr. Limerick over here, who has brought up limericks 47 times. There are no limericks in the Zodiac case. Not one time did the Zodiac ever write a fucking limerick. What are you talking about, you idiot?
that kind of thing, and that he had favorite poems that he uses, and some of the poems
Insane.
are actually mentioned in the verbiage in the poems
No,
that
they're
he
not.
liked. One in particular is mentioned in one of the letters
Which one?
that the Zodiac wrote to the press.
Yeah, and of course,
Didn't happen.
you know, being a cop, he was never even a suspect.
Right.
Or
That's what's
he
wild.
was never a suspect
what-
because he can be definitively fucking ruled out. Have you considered that possibility, you fucking brain dead limerick eating lunatic?
I don't understand, right? Because he died.
Limerick-loving
in 2020, I
lunatic.
believe. He made it his whole life.
Yeah.
Why did the killing stop? Does Jay Floyd talk about that? Did his grandfather? Did something happen? Did he get some
Matter,
therapy?
because he's
did he
not-
get some
he's
electrotherapy? Did he become crippled? Did something cause him to have to retire from the force? So we don't know when he retired from the police force. But
I'm sure you could find that
clearly,
information out if you
his
did any
family
research.
stayed in the Bay Area, so it's not likely that Richard Hoffman, moved away, right?
No, I
Like
don't
he
think
stayed
he
in
moved
the
away.
area.
You know what I was going to mention one more thing,
Yeah.
because there's tons of them. This just came to mind. Is one of the things that happened. So he was being interviewed one time because he was one of the first officers to show up on the
Right.
one of the things that the person interviewing him on camera asked him was, they said, "You knew Darlene, did you?" And he says, "No, I didn't know her." And they said, "You didn't know her? We thought you knew her." He said, "No, I didn't know her."
He
said,
probably
I
fucking
knew-
didn't.
I heard later that she worked at like a restaurant or something. Now,
Every suspect gets tied to this fucking pancake house. Okay? I think Darlene worked at 2 different pancake houses. One of them was, I don't know for sure, but she worked at an IHOP and then maybe at another pancake house. And those were right down the street from Arthur Lee Allen's house. Yeah, there's IHOP, and wasn't there some other pancake house that was involved here where she may have worked? I've heard a second pancake house mentioned. I don't know if that's accurate, but yeah, IHOP is one of them, or the one. And every time there's a suspect, this pancake house gets thrown into it. It's the same shit over and over again. He was at the painting party. He went to the pancake house. He fucking, this and that. It's the same garbage over and over with every fucking suspect. It has nothing to do with Richard Hoffman. It's a deception tactic. That's all it's ever been, really.
Jay says that's absolutely untrue.
On the part of the
Everyone he
researchers.
spoke to said he knew her. Everybody knew her in town.
Oh, yeah.
She worked at a hangout
Every single
for
person
the
was
police
interviewed.
that they constantly were at.
Mm.
Everyone knew that they knew each other. And so he now says, "I don't know her, I've never seen her, never came in contact with her. I did know she worked at a diner or something." But that's absolutely untrue, because I think his aunt says, no, he knew her, knew who she was, and that he was having an affair with her.
Of course.
So
We know that now. And
why
and
are
his,
you denying this?
Right.
Why would you deny it? He's on film, he denies
Maybe
it.
because he didn't.
I'm
Who
shocked his
cares?
his ex-partner,
Who fucking
clearly there
cares?
was no love lost between the two. I'm shocked that he didn't see that interview where he lies
But
and then
this is
come
older.
forward.
He's also older. He's probably in his 60s when this interview takes
Oh,
place. So
I
he's retired.
see.
He's
I
and not just
see.
that. Even at the time had it happened, why would the former partner say anything? He was also sleeping with her. He doesn't. These guys want this to go away.
Right.
What am I gonna say? I know he was fucking her. I was fucking her too.
Right.
We've been arguing.
Then they're
about
both the Zodiac, I guess. 'Cause
She's
they're
gone.
fucking- It's
He's probably
so
relieved.
dumb.
Of course.
You know?
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, think about Darlene's husband. Let's not forget,
Lon
Darlene
Chaney.
was sleeping with 2 cops, and she was going out with another guy, a 19-year-old.
Yeah.
Fucking 3 different men, and none of them are her husband.
Well, I don't think she was she married?
Yeah,
Yes.
Darlene was
She's
married.
Where's this?
Oh,
She's
God.
married. Why do you keep saying that?
She's married, dude, because Jay Foy's video. She's married.
That's where he learned it.
Okay.
Yeah.
He knows that because it was in J Foy's. This guy is a joke. Mr. Limerick is a joke.
Scared me.
Okay.
Yes, Jay Foy's video.
I love it. You scared me for a second. But yes, it was in J Foy's video. Well, fuck. It's gotta be true. But it is true. Darlene was married. But don't get all your information from Jay Foy's ridiculous fucking videos. You'd be very well to do not sourcing all of your fucking information from Jay Foy.
Do we want to watch?
Yeah,
let's
watch
just
it.
watch one of the videos.
Yeah.
My grandpa is the motherfucking Zodiac killer,
No, he's not.
and this
He's
is
a fucking idiot.
not clickbait, so please, I need to
It's clickbait. Your grandfather was not the fucking Zodiac killer. You're a degenerate. You suck.
allow the internet to share this, bookmark it, and blow my comment section up. I want to start off by saying this is not just based off physical appearance. I typed
Definitely not, because he doesn't match your physical appearance with Zodiac fucking at all. So.
in my grandpa's name on Google the other day, and to my fucking surprise, internet sleuths have been throwing my grandpa's name around for years, connecting him as the Zodiac motherfucking killer. As you can see here in all these pictures on the screen somewhere, that
It doesn't. It's nothing. There's nothing. Oh my
it
god.
looks exactly like my grandpa. Let's talk about my grandpa, the Vallejo police officer. Yes, the same area where the Zodiac killer's fucking killings took place. Let's move forward. Let's talk about the
I think
Darlene
Jay Foy was more tolerable when he was drunk.
Sharon murder. Let me tell you, this is not a
Darlene Sharon.
order, but
What a disaster. It's unwatchable.
the more evidence I give you, you are going to be convinced that my grandpa is in
No, we're not going to be convinced he's ruled.
fact the Zodiac killer.
He's ruled out.
Darlene Farron and her boyfriend Mike or Matt, forgot the fucking guy's
Mike or Matt.
name, were driving around Vallejo one night, a night that my grandfather happened to be on duty, driving an unmarked police car.
Well, your grandpa's ruled out.
Wearing plain clothes. Mike, who ended up surviving the shooting, said that they were being followed around by this car all night in Vallejo before they pulled into Blue Rock Springs. They said when they parked, the car pulled in, a man hopped out of the car, and Darlene, the girl who passed away, said, "Oh my God, that's Richard. He's gonna kill
No,
us
she didn't say.
both."
Your
Apparently,
grandpa's ruled out.
she was dating a police officer in Vallejo behind her husband's back. She was apparently a thotty. Rest in peace, Darlene Farron. So this guy in her passenger seat is one of her many boyfriends, and it was well known by her friend group that
I think this guy's mentally fucking retarded.
she was dating a Vallejo cop, although she never told him the name. She had a painting party at her house a few weeks before her murder.
She allegedly had a painting party, and everyone's suspect was there, by the way. So there were 900 Zodiac killer suspects at Darlene's Farron's painting party, and I think it's a prerequisite. I think if you are going to become the Zodiac killer, you have to not only be one person, you have to be 100 people, and all 100 people have to also go to the painting party. Because we've heard this same fucking story over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. And even if there was a painting party, which isn't even fucking confirmed, there's a lot of reason to suggest that there probably was some kind of painting party. We don't know who was there, and we've just heard this before. So try something new. Let's if you're gonna try to get famous in the Zodiac case for whatever underlying mental reasoning that you have, at least try to make up something new and interesting, because the painting party story is getting really boring.
And it was said that my grandfather, Richard Hoffman, showed up uninvited, and she
Yeah, it
told
was said that Richard Gatkowski did that too, and it was said that Arthur Lee Allen did that too, and I think it's been said that Lawrence Kane did that too, and I think even Don Chaney and Ron, like all of these people have been implicated by numerous people over the years as having showed up to Darlene's supposed painting party. It's like the thing to do. Everyone was there.
her circle of friends that she is scared to death of him, and he was not invited there. My grandpa denies these claims. He says he never
I'm sure he does.
laid eyes on her, but then later goes on to say, "I know that she worked at a restaurant locally here in Vallejo." How the fuck have you never laid eyes on her, Grandpa? You tell me about that. Let's move
Your
forward.
grandpa's ruled out.
As Mike said,
Definitively ruled out. He can't be the Zodiac.
right before they got shot, she said
It's
that.
literally more likely that, I swear to God, you guys, I know that this sounds hyperbolic. I know that this sounds like your average New Coke's exaggerating again. But I swear to you, there is a better fucking chance that Pete Conrad from Apollo 12 was the Zodiac killer than Richard Hoffman. There's a better fucking chance that Walter Cronkite was, I swear to you, there's a better chance than Richard Hoffman.
Richard, he's gonna kill us both. My grandpa's name is fucking Richard Hoffman. Now let's talk about something else that I thought was really weird. In a letter that the Zodiac wrote, and my grandpa's police reports, and also this poem that I'm gonna talk about
Unwatchable.
later, my grandpa spells the word until wrong. He spells
Everybody spells it that way. It is so common. That's the most common. It's one of the most common misspellings. I think if you were to Google most common misspellings in the English language, until with 2 L's would be on that list. I don't know. I haven't tried it. I highly your ZBI, Zap's Bureau of Investigation. Can you look into for us? Hopefully before this video ends. And, you know, where the word until ranks on the most commonly misspelled words in the English language, because I guarantee you it's on that list.
wrong. He puts 2 L's at the end. Where in multiple letters of the Zodiac wrote, he also spells until with 2 L's at the motherfucking end. Well, let's talk about the Sherry Bates murder that took place a couple
That
years
wasn't even, it almost certainly wasn't even Zodiac.
before the Darlene Ferrin murder. She was in a library doing her homework. She had just moved from Nebraska. Nebraska, why do I mention that? Because my grandpa lived in Nebraska. My mother, biological mother, was
Oh my
born in Nebraska.
Oh
my
my
grandpa was
God.
also in the Navy.
Unwatchable.
Sherry Bates' brother was also in the Navy. This is weird, right? It's all
Oh, it's so weird. It's all connected.
together.
I think. I don't know, man. I don't fucking know. I've literally seen better conspiracy theories in a meth psychosis and with people in a meth psychosis than this insanity.
This murder took place. She was at the library studying one night. She leaves and gets shot up. Well, they found a poem
She was stabbed
and written
and her throat was slit.
underneath the motherfucking desk.
And the poem is almost certainly not connected to the crime at all. So
And
that's something that's come up later on. You know, for a period of time, it was believed that the desktop poem was written by the offender that murdered Sherry Jo Bates. But in later years, we've basically come to realize that the two are completely unrelated. That their desktop poem is not at all connected to the Riverside Community College murder of Sherry Jo Bates.
And forensic analysis and handwriting analysis say
Forensic
that
analysis.
it's the exact writings of the Zodiac. And they
No, it's not.
say,
And furthermore, the desktop poem isn't writing, by the way, you guys. That's something that I don't know. Obviously, J4 doesn't know it. But the desktop poem is actually carved into the wooden surface of the desk.
that this
So it's not writing on a page.
is possibly the first killing that the Zodiac
Not
ever
even
did.
carved with a
Well,
pen
this
or whatever.
letter was initialed RH at the very
Oh,
bottom. RH, Richard Hoffman.
Why would he do that? According to AI, it is not commonly misspelled, but that's surprising.
Forensic analysis experts said that letter was written by the Zodiac. So why is no one connecting this to my motherfucking grandpa? Somebody tell me why. It is said that my grandpa and Darlene, the one who got shot at Blue Rock Springs, had a romantic sexual relationship behind everybody's back, behind my grandma's back. Let's talk about his character. My grandpa's character, he was known in my family to be abusive,
I think I know why this guy was not allowed to continue being a police officer now.
controlling.
I think we've begun to crack the mystery of what happened to Jay Foy's law enforcement military career. Okay, and I don't think it even has to do with his drinking. This is him sober. Okay,
manipulating, and also
this is fucking Jay Foy sober. I get getting charged up like I do, you know, I'm doing, but look at this, his unhinged, ridiculous ramblings about a man who literally was an emergency responder. How we know that for a fact? How do we know what for a fact?
to my grandmother.
Oh, that he's not Zodiac?
Now we're gonna sit here and pretend that my grandpa didn't do this shit. They also say that the crime scene was tampered with. Why did Darby?
I mean, I believe him. You know, I think he's probably sober. I think that this is like common behavior for alcoholics and addicts in recovery. Like, they get all charged up about like some weird ass fucking topic. Like this is what I do. When I'm loaded is not when I have done some streams on meth, crack, and marijuana with you guys. But the point is, they're not as good. My streams have a lot more energy when I'm sober. But
His family get a call that she was shot before the cops.
I think
knew
he's
about it.
sober.
That call was placed by a payphone outside of Vallejo Police Department. Someone tell me that, and my grandpa was first on scene to that shooting.
Thank you for bringing up the phone call, dummy, because you just debunked your entire fucking argument. At the time that fucking phone call was placed, Richard Hoffman was on his way. Why do you miss the meth streams? What meth streams are you talking about? Yeah, sure thing, Zap. Ideally, that will never happen again. Right? We're trying to never do that again. At the time that phone call was placed, you know what? We know where Richard Hoffman was. He was on his way to the hospital or at the hospital with Darlene Ferrin, so he can't be the phone caller. Zap, lame dumb look. I think that there is a stream on my channel called Would Tyler Robinson Have Gotten Away with Murder? I believe I was on crack in that video. So if you want to get an understanding of me smoking crack, it's in that video.
And later it was revealed that scene was tampered with.
But it's a really good stream, actually. I will admit that. That live stream was solid as fuck. I think I was smoking crack that day.
Grandpa showed up on scene within 5 minutes of the shooting being reported. He sent away the officers that responded with him. Who sends away responding officers on a possible double murder? And the crime scene...
They don't. No police officer, as far as I know, nobody would leave that fucking crime scene. If they were like, can you leave? I've got this under control. They'd be like, are you fucking kidding me? These guys have 9 gunshot wounds between the two of them. Ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
You're still gonna tell me my grandpa is not the Zodiac killer. What are we gonna do about it? I don't fucking know. My grandpa...
He's not the Zodiac killer. He's been officially and definitively fucking ruled out.
On vacation in a grave somewhere.
Wow, we forgot.
That was awful. That was a mess. That was such a fucking mess.
To mention that the letter from the 1966 murder from the Riverside College Library.
That was a disaster. I can't even believe they showed that to 50,000 people.
No, I did mention. I mentioned that there was like a poem that was found near her, or either in the library, near the desk.
Oh, that's where the limerick thing comes from, by the way. I guess. I don't know where this whole thing about Zodiac writing limericks. Hey, dumbass. Can you show me one limerick that the Zodiac killer wrote? I'll be waiting. I don't think I'm gonna. One of his TikToks got 27 million views. Oh my fucking god. It's okay. Most of those are bots. And we've kind of, like, we're past. It surprises me. This was uploaded a month ago. So. I mean, I thought we were past the Richard Hoffman stuff. I thought we were past Gary Francis Post. I thought we were like, every couple months there's one of these things, and I guess it's marketing, but it's a disaster. Richard Hoffman wasn't the Zodiac killer.
What had been, or he was on her, I forgot what.
But did you say initialed RH?
Yeah, I said it had his initials. I didn't say RH because we didn't know his name.
Right. We didn't want to bury the lead, as they say.
Oh.
Wow. I mean, the guy convinced me. But then again, I read.
I guess that's all it takes. Every year there is some new suspect. Yeah. And, Mac Posty off. Oh, Matt, right, yeah. Well, Morph is 100% sure that... You know what the best part of this is? So Michael Morford is 100% sure that William McDuff was the Zodiac killer, and J-Foy is 100% sure that Richard Hoffman was the Zodiac killer. So one or both of them has to be wrong. and I know Michael Morford gets a lot wrong. But if I had to pick between who I would want on my criminal investigation, if I had to choose, and I would never choose either of these people, everybody owned that fucking code book. Who cares? If I had to have either Jay Foy or Michael Morford on my murder investigation team, I would pick Morford. But if I were given any other options, I wouldn't choose either of them.
Everything I watch and read by these internet sleuths,
Yeah.
I believe it all. I'm like, yeah, that sounds good. Let's go with that.
Oh my god.
But
Wait a minute. Okay. At least he's redeemed himself a little bit. Mr. Limerick just redeemed himself. Are you ready for this? Let's go back. Just a second here. I want to smoke this pipe so badly, but I have to wait. Ready for this? This says it all right here. This is the moment of truth. I wish he would have just said this earlier in the stream so we would never have had to dissect everything he says. Ready? Here he comes.
We didn't know his name.
right.
We
didn't want to bury the lead, as they say
Yeah.
in radio. Wow. I mean, the guy convinced me. But then again, I read everything I watch and read by these internet sleuths.
Yeah.
I believe it all. I'm like,
There you
yeah,
go.
that sounds good. Let's go with that. But
Okay, so everything I watch and read by these internet sleuths, I believe it all. Mr. Limerick 2026. I won't put any crack in it, don't worry, Jeff. It's just tobacco. But it's just... Because I've been vaping anyway.
But that's the best evidence. That's the most evidence we have out of all the
No, it's not. No, it's fucking not. It isn't. It's because you haven't looked. This is how you guys. I've told this story, and I think Zap knows about this. But for those joining, this is how I got into Zodiac. I was on Reddit one day on the Unresolved Mysteries subreddit, and I saw a post that said, "Is Paul Doerr the Zodiac killer?" And Doerr is spelled Doerr. And there was a list of circumstances that, you know, the OP indicated that Paul Doerr was the Zodiac. And I looked at that list and I thought, oh, well, this case is fucking solved. It's totally Paul Doerr. So I commented, I replied to someone and I was like, oh yeah, it's obvious. You know, it's totally Paul Doerr. And then someone replied to me, and thank God for that person. But also, fuck you, dude. Because they replied to my comment and they said, oh, you haven't looked at this case at all. Because there's 150 other people with just as many, if not more, circumstances that indicate that they're the Zodiac killer. And down the rabbit hole I went, and here we all are.
guys we just read.
So listen,
I mean, comment what you think at home.
That's a good summary.
think-
I like
well, we're not gonna
EF5
go
right
into
now.
all- listen, that's
So, Zap, if you want to go check out a great subreddit that I've been active on, yeah, that would be crazy if that was you. That would be a weird-ass coincidence. Go check out the subreddit EF5. It's my new fucking place. It's all about tornadoes, and literally every post on there is just someone fucking trolling. You can see my post on there from today. It's all, everything's getting slabbed. Everyone in Illinois is dead. It's all the trolling.
like one of the first videos he made.
It's an amazing
That's like the
subreddit.
first video.
It's my new thing.
This is when he just got into it.
Yeah.
That's a long time. We're talking about months.
Yeah.
That was a year ago.
He reads his grandfather's
His limericks.
poems,
His
reads
limericks.
his letters.
He goes
Yeah.
through
Just
all
so many
his
limericks.
handwriting.
Yeah.
The handwriting is the
Yeah.
same.
The handwriting on the limericks is the same as the...
numerous misspelling words. There's
So many
punctuation
limericks.
mistakes that are identical. So this was just the
Oh my
first
God.
time he kind of reviewed of some stuff.
And then we looked
Over
at the
next 6
limericks, and
months,
they
he
were
gets
so
deeper
good.
Into the minutia.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, the only
Oh my
problem.
God. The only problem is that the limericks that Richard Hoffman wrote are not as good as... The limericks that Richard Hoffman wrote are not as good as the limericks that the Zodiac Killer wrote, and neither of them can write limericks as good as Richard Gaikowski. Richard Gaikowski is the best at writing limericks, but if you had to rank people by their limerick writing abilities, it would be... Well, Richard Hoffman and the Zodiac are the same person. So, technically number 1 is for limerick writing abilities is going to be Richard Hoffman / Zodiac Killer, and then number 2 is going to be Painting Party, and then number 3 is going to be Lawrence Kane, and then Don Chaney is further down on the list. But all of these guys are really good at limericks. Okay, let's keep
is that he's only done 2 or 3
limericks.
of the cases, and he's still slowly compiling evidence. Like, he hadn't done them all. Keep in mind, the guy's I'm sure he's got a full-time job. He's also doing TikTok.
Right,
He's raising a son by himself.
Right.
He's got some problems. Like,
Right.
you watch more of the videos, this guy.
But I think clearly.
Oh, he's got some problems, all right.
Apple don't far fall from the tree.
Well,
right? It's like
I think the substance abuse problem that he's in recovery from is the least of his fucking problems, honestly.
just shows that.
or
I really do. I really
Yeah,
think that the least of Jay Foy's problems is his alcoholism that resulted in having a heart attack.
the sons,
Yeah.
his father, and I think his
That's
his
one.
uncle,
That's one thing that Jay Foy and I have in common. We've both had heart attacks.
they've had problems with law
Right.
enforcement over and over again.
Right.
He ends up being law enforcement.
My grandpa was not the Zodiac Killer, by the way, but my grandpa did kill people in Vietnam, so he might. There's just no conclusive evidence to show that my grandpa wrote any limericks. That's the problem.
That's right. But still, like, the whole family is kind of cursed with this
Just
alcoholism, and that comes from mental illness, and it traces the generations. So
There's also he talks about that too, that his father or his grandfather had an alcohol problem.
Mhm.
I mean, listen, there's so many things
Yeah.
that he slowly uncovered, and some of the people he's talking to, some of the family members don't necessarily want to be named, so he's like, look, it was a family member. I'm not gonna say
Right.
who, but he gets really into it. For sure,
Iantic
like you said,
pentameter.
you're not
Just,
gonna know.
just
What
so
I'm
many
wondering
things. that-
is, and this he didn't come
Iambic
up with this.
pentameter
This
or
has
whatever,
been
what's it called?
years, going on for years.
I'm not a poet.
I wonder if there is the DNA, why not go and see?
There isn't DNA. That's the problem. That's why we don't know who the Zodiac is. If we had a full profile of the Zodiac, it would be over tomorrow.
They already have a DNA profile,
No, they don't. If they had a DNA profile of the Zodiac, it would be over tomorrow.
probably attached to
Right.
the Zodiac. Why
They
doesn't
don't. If they did, we would know.
he go and try and get himself tested?
Right, because in 2020 they tried to do that. Some kooks that are really, really deep into the Zodiac killing conspiracy. They went
What fucking conspiracy are you talking
and
about? So the definition of a conspiracy is an agreement by 2 or more people to commit an unlawful act at a future time. So if I go to, Joe and I tell him we're gonna rob a bank on next Friday, and we both agree to it, that's a conspiracy. And if I decide to rob a bank tomorrow, that's not a conspiracy. You have to have more than one. So there isn't a conspiracy. Point is, if we had Zodiac's DNA, this would be a solved case.
through using
You don't need. All you need now is a full DNA profile. That's it. It's over.
service like 23andMe, they tried to prove that through DNA it was another guy. And
Yeah,
it was
you're
just-
right. I could have done that. But I was trying to not commit conspiracy live on the fucking internet, Zap. You degenerate.
But his name escapes me, but he was already dead by that point.
Yeah,
It was like 2018. But they call it forensic genealogy, I believe.
Yeah.
And it's a thing that they can do. I mean, you set up yourself.
So
they
if
can
we had a DNA profile, we would have done it.
make cases, they can make sex crime cases out of it by taking
listen,
somebody else's spit,
there have been multiple cases. There have been dozens and dozens and dozens,
Right.
to be honest with you, of cases that have been solved like this. Like
I've been caught,
some guy
but not for
raped
robbing
and
banks.
killed 6 women, and then his grandson takes an ancestry DNA.
Third cousin, even. I mean, fourth cousin, it requires a lot more. You could do it, though. You could, I mean, technically, you can take, especially now with AI, maybe even your 5th or 6th cousin, like some crazy shit, could submit a buccal swab to GEDmatch, and it's game over for you. It's just a matter of how big are the family trees. So if you have a third cousin, then it's a much more manageable number because you only have to go back to great-great-grandparents or something like that. And so just the more removed the cousin is, like if it's a 4th cousin, if it's a 5th cousin, 6th cousin, the more removed that cousin is, then you have to go further back. Then there's adoption records for that Zap, and that would be shown. So if they like let's say you get adopted and your biological family submits a buccal swab, and then you start building those family trees, you would find that in the common ancestral branch of the genetic genealogy tree that this family adopted out one of their kids. And then you could trace that individual's family tree too, and then you would find out, is that... But either way, you would be able to... You can trace it. And they do with homicides. It's just a matter of, do we have the DNA? And we don't with Zodiac.
Test kit, and it goes into the system, and they...
And so the further out your cousin matches, say it's a fourth cousin, whatever, it just means you have to go back another generation. And every time you go back a generation, the family trees get larger. So the third cousin is how Eron's was caught. Eron's was caught by a match to a third cousin. And then it's possible that Barbara Ray Venter found a second cousin match in the Jet Match databases, but the first landing, the first hit that they had on Eron's DNA was a third cousin, and so that allowed them to begin building the tree more manageably. I think they might have had a fourth cousin first, but the one that really allowed them to start working those trees was a third cousin.
Randomly run through the system, and it connects, because you understand all of these massive databases are that law enforcement has access to.
Mm-hmm.
So
Well, that's not true. Law enforcement doesn't have access to private closed source data. So 23andMe, some of these other companies, Ancestry.com, these databases are not accessible to law enforcement. Law enforcement can access the open source databases like GEDmatch, but that's good enough because GEDmatch is large enough where we can get... If you committed a homicide that's being investigated, that you left your DNA at, you are fucked. Let's put it that way.
You sign. You don't realize you're giving your
Signing
DNA
away your privacy.
everything. So
Absolutely.
then this kid, of course, is spitting in, thinking, I'm fine. I've never done anything wrong. I don't care if they have my
Right.
DNA. But Grandpa does.
Yeah.
And so one day they show up I actually watched an interview where they show up with at this guy's house. This exact thing happened. Some relative of his had done a DNA thing. He hadn't.
Mm-hmm.
And the cops, the homicide detective from the cold case file, show up and talk to him and say, do you know this girl? Have you ever seen her? Have you ever been in her house? Because they're trying to get you to say you've never been in her house. Because the way these guys get out of that is they say, yes, you found my semen in her, but I knew her. I'd had sex with her the day before. I didn't kill her. That's what. So they try and paint you into a corner. They say, oh, did you know her? No. Is there any reason you would have been in her house? No. You never dated her? No. But now you're done.
Right.
You can't now come back and say, yes, I did date. I was sleeping with her. No. You said you don't know her. You've never been in her house. Her body was found in her house.
Wow.
Murdered. You had sex with her. Your semen was inside her. And that's what happened in one of the cases I watched. But there's dozens of. You see it all the time. It's happening.
Jay Foy might be a guy that we should try to get in here.
Oh, that would
Don't
we
do
talked about
that.
doing,
I can't watch that.
interviews. We talked about doing guest episodes.
I told you about the
can't
one
watch
chick. Her grandfather. No, her father.
I wouldn't be able to watch that.
Serial. What she's saying. He admitted.
Absolutely brutal.
Matter of fact, I think he's still alive. He about a year ago he started admitting to murders that he'd conducted.
Yeah.
And in a cabin out in the woods that they still own. She went out there, videoed, took photographs, everything. I was trying to get her to come from she's in California or something. I couldn't get her to come, and then eventually I think we started talking. She's working with a friend of hers.
Wow.
That would be an amazing one.
Can we get him in, sir? Do you want to just put this on record?
Just wheel him in.
Are you terminal?
I do. I think he's in a wheelchair, he's in a home.
So are they done yet?
Fine. We can get a guy to just confess to murder.
Listen, this is a lot of bodies. This is a lot.
Yeah, no. I'm thinking of marketing potential here, Matthew. And I'm thinking this is our biggest episode ever. Wow. Dude.
Every episode is our biggest episode.
Do you know why? Because I'm a glass half full guy, I'm sorry if you're not. I'm just I see the sunshine everywhere. I see the good in everybody, dude. I see the good, even in the Zodiac Killer, I see the good.
We gotta get.
Yeah, well, you know that because within the first 30 seconds of the live stream, you called him, quote, the greatest of all time.
Boy on here. We gotta get Jay Foy. That's an easy one.
Don't
That's
get
an easy
Jay
one.
Foy in the room.
And go
It's
follow Jay
fucking
Foy.
brutal.
Now, let me ask you this. Thoughts to wrap up.
Absolutely
Richard Hoffman,
brutal.
likely the Zodiac Killer.
No, absolutely 100% certainly not the Zodiac Killer.
There's
Right.
as many reasons as he would be as anyone else would be.
Yeah.
Welcome to Zodiac Land, Matt. Welcome to the show. You'll soon become very disillusioned because you'll realize that everybody who was alive at that time has it's ridiculous.
And
more.
Certainly
And
more
more.
than
Let's
the,
go
the
over
main
it.
suspect.
Yes. Of
No,
course.
not at all. Very, very low on the list. In fact, there's a lot of people who, not even Gaikowski is fucking ruled out. Gaikowski isn't even definitively ruled out. There's an infinitely better possibility that Richard Gaikowski is the Zodiac. There's an infinitely better possibility that Don Chaney was the Zodiac Killer, and neither of those people were the fucking Zodiac Killer. Richard Hoffman definitely was not.
Physical description to a T.
No, he doesn't.
Circumstantial evidence to a T.
No, he doesn't.
Opportunity.
No, he doesn't.
Opportunity.
Absolutely.
Motive.
No,
Motive.
none of those things. Stop with that
He's
bullshit.
in the police department. It's easy for him to sidestep any investigation.
Right.
No, he's above reproach. Nobody thinks this guy would be involved. He could go anywhere. And listen, let's face it. You're law enforcement. You basically are just running shit.
Eating over there.
Anywhere you go, law enforcement. You can always pretend to be law enforcement.
And especially in a small town like Vallejo at the time,
But he
you
can
know?
go anywhere.
Yeah.
He can go
because he's
anywhere.
undercover, he's plain
He's
clothes.
getting access, but I'm saying he can go out of the jurisdiction.
Right.
He can go up to people. He can convince them of this. He can convince. And what are you really worried about? If I'm talking to somebody and somebody comes up to me, I can always, if it gets bad, I can always say, hey, whoa. I'm law enforcement, bro.
Yeah.
Back the fuck up. I'm undercover,
Right.
having a conversation.
Yeah.
I'm always going to get away.
Right.
If
Now-
I get pulled over by the cops after leaving a scene,
Yeah.
they pull me over, they go, hey, we're looking for you. You go, no, whoa, I'm law enforcement. They're gonna, oh yeah, go. You're done. They don't even consider you a suspect.
But let me ask you this to play devil's advocate, right? This was something we could talk to Jay about. Suppose that Richard Hoffman did kill Darlene and attempted to kill Michael, right? Right. In that
Why
car.
would we suppose
I
that?
assume he did. I believe he did.
Why do you do that?
What's to say that he was responsible for all those other bodies? And yes, the RH, and I get
Oh, man. It's yeah, there are reasons why the offender is probably the same person. There's no concrete, guaranteed scientific proof that it's the same person, but the odds are way more likely than not that the same offender is responsible for Lake Herman Road, Blue Rock Springs, Lake Perry SM, Presidio Heights. And that's a whole other discussion that is a nightmare of a rabbit hole that I highly recommend that you not go down, Mr. Limerick.
the cryptography, the
Limericks.
cryptographic messaging,
The
and the
limericks,
poems, and
the
the spelling.
limericks, and the fucking limericks.
Jay
Does
even,
Jay have evidence to break that down? Circumstantial
So many
evidence?
limericks.
well, once again, he's only going one at a time.
One
He's still
limerick at a time.
gathering evidence.
He's gathering
so
limericks.
The people, he's saying, look, I at the very least believe the librarian,
Just ridiculous.
Darlene
Yeah.
and Michael, and then he's got another one that he believes his grandfather had access to. He's like, he's still gathering information. He's also got a lot going on in his life. He's recovering alcoholic.
Yeah.
He's raising a child.
Right.
He's got multiple things. He's got some fraternity. Listen, he's got a whole nother drama. This is a sub-drama for this guy's life.
Would it be possible? I mean, look, the Zodiac doesn't have that many bodies. Now, I'm going to say that 37 that letter bragged to, that was sent to the cops, is propaganda. It's the Ripper effect, right? It's everybody writing in saying they're the killer. So I'm putting that aside, and I'm going to just assume that's not true. This guy's got very few bodies. One is a kidnapping that goes wrong. A lot of women get kidnapped,
Yeah.
especially back then. A lot of people got kidnapped. The other one, a cab driver shot to death in a neighborhood in San Francisco. San Francisco is 45 minutes away from Vallejo, practically, right?
Except there was forensic evidence in the letter.
Yeah, there's the connection there. But, granted, on the other hand, a letter was sent talking about each
Piece of shit.
incident,
Right.
each body, each attempted murder.
He's taking credit, but he also may be writing those letters, taking credit as the Zodiac to throw suspicion off of himself.
Yes.
Right?
Right.
So
Great point.
right, so he could grab any murder, and he could get access to any of the internal information. Imagine that if you're a police.
So if you're a Vallejo police officer, you're not swimming in evidence from a San Francisco jurisdiction homicide.
Officer, you can easily, at this time, how hard would it be for you to go in and talk to the other detectives? Listen, we have a murder.
Hey, I
in
need
our
the
area.
shirt. I need to
What's
cut up
going
that
on
shirt,
with this?
buddy.
And then they tell you all about
Fucking
the holdback,
insane.
what they're holding back from the press, what happened.
Absolutely
It's
insane.
Like, holy shit. Doesn't sound like our guy. Man, I really appreciate it. And then he leaves, he goes back, he writes a letter from the Zodiac. Now suddenly the Zodiac knows information that nobody else knows. It's gotta be the Zodiac. Even though he may have had nothing to do with that. He's trying to tie it all together. It ends up giving him an out if he's ever suspected. Okay, well, how would the Zodiac took credit for this murder, all these other murders? I was never in there for that one murder. I was on duty.
I was writing limericks that
Who
day.
knows
That makes sense.
what the dynamic is?
But clearly he was smart. Clearly he was smart. He knew as a cop he could get inside information. Yeah, what do we have on this guy?
Mhm.
Not much? Okay.
That's what I'm saying. The amount of power, especially at this time.
Yeah.
At this time, you're a police officer walking into a police department. They're not logging you in. There's no key codes.
No.
There's no video. These guys aren't even sharing information with one another. They're calling it. Listen, in the actually in the Zodiac one, these guys are arguing about jurisdiction and who's supposed to be running the
Right.
investigation. You got to send us your
Nicotine withdrawal for a long
information.
time.
Why haven't you sent it?
Yeah.
It's horrific. It's amazing that they solve any cases.
I
Zap,
wanna,
look at that Artemis
I
photo.
want to assume, as we wrap this episode, I want to say, beyond a reasonable doubt, that Richard Hoffman is the Zodiac killer. But I want to get Jay in here.
What the fuck are you talking about? Beyond a reasonable doubt. Insane. Insane. It isn't even beyond a reasonable doubt. There is a fucking 0% chance. Yeah, I saw the iPhone video. It was sick, dude. I watched that whole. We had a launch party here when they launched. We had a live stream day. We watched the live coverage, and then we watched the coverage of the re-entry, and of course the flyby was not streamed when they were behind, but yeah, it was a big thing. Just very cool.
To back up these claims, I want to ask him, when did your grandfather retire from the force?
When did he stop
You know,
writing
all of
limericks?
these other things, like how does
That would be the
killer
only
stop
question.
killing?
If
Right?
I had
I think-
one question for Jay Foy, it would be, how many limericks did your grandpa write?
He can answer a lot of that stuff.
The
Yeah,
only
I
thing
think
I
it's
would
gonna be
ask.
great.
Yeah, I will.
Literally, that would actually be the only
This
thing.
is this has been a fascinating one. I don't think we've done an episode yet where we've actually revealed the killer in real time. We've actually
You
found
didn't reveal shit
the killer.
because you didn't, and you got here 2 minutes ago. It is insane. I cannot believe the grandiosity and the fucking delusional sense of self-importance that this fucking idiot has to even to think that he has revealed the identity of the Zodiac. It is insane. I'll check back in with Mr. Limerick in 3 years and see if he's realized the error of his ways. But yeah, if I had one question for Jay Foy, it would be, how many limericks did your grandpa write?
I'm happy about this. This is
it. This is the one.
You did it. Live from the spinning ball, this has been the most banned prowler on